Spring in South Korea feels refreshing and full of a happy aura. Everyone loves spring. The flowers are blooming beautifully, and the air is blessed with the fresh scent of flowers. The happiness was also felt by this small family. It was the 7th birthday of a boy named Gangnam, and everyone was having fun. They celebrated Gangnam's birthday in a simple way. They live like a cute and harmonious, happy family. The mother discusses Nam's naughty and mischievous childhood, but he says he doesn't remember any of it. Seeing that Nam is saddened by this fact, his mother pulls him into her lap and comforted him. "From now on, you can remember everything for us. I think you'll do a better job of remembering than Mommy will," his mother whispered. "You have to promise that you'll remember Mommy even when you get old. Deal?" Nam connected their thumbs in a playful way as he answered, "Deal." His mother tells Nam that they are going to make new memories together, so they promise to take him on trips to the beach during the holiday season. Summer come, and Gangnam and his family went on a family trip. Nam's mom asked her husband to come here more often because Gangnam likes this kind of vacation. She rested her head on her husband's chest. There, they also took family photos to frame and display at home. Their summer vacation was going well. Their family of 3 led a simple life full of happiness. One day, his mother would make dinner for them as usual. Gangnam, who saw it, decided to accompany his mother to cook while looking at their latest vacation photo. Gangnam liked the photo, and his mother did too. They were talking in the kitchen, wondering where else they should go for their next vacation. However, all this happiness, these simplicities, would soon end. As his mother turned on the gas, Nam saw the incident as if it were in slow motion. "I wanted to remember everything, to cherish every moment, to spend as much time together as possible. I wanted to be able to see them just a bit longer." That's what Nam of the future is thinking as the stove exploded and the fire quickly engulfed the entire house, including his mother. A few hours later, Gangnam was in the hospital with bandages around his face and all over his body. Police officers are investigating the cause of the fire in the apartment. A man who turns out to have saved Gangnam's life answers questions from the police, as Gangnam's parents are reportedly dead. The officer asks him to tell him everything that happened that day. The white-haired man revealed that he was sitting on a bench in the evening when he saw Gangnam with his parents and praised them as a cute family. After some time, when the darkness covered the sky and he was about to go home, he was shocked when he heard an explosion and a burning house. "Oh my God, isn't that little Nam's apartment?" Hearing people talking about the Gangnam family he met a while ago was the one who has their house on fire. He rushed towards the building to save them. When he entered the house, the thick fire was sprouting everywhere, and he could see nothing. Meanwhile, the rescue team also reaches there, and they ask the people to get out of the way. But before they could go inside, the old man who was holding Gangnam fell from the building, and the rescuer managed to save them. Immediately, the leader of the rescue team asked his men to take them to the hospital. After some time, they reported the results of the search, that everyone died except for the child. After telling this story, the police officer asked Gangnam if he remembered anything else about the explosion. Gangnam was silent. He shakes his head and says he doesn't remember anything. The police officer then gives him the photo he managed to save, and it is the family photo they took on their summer vacation. "I was able to save this picture from the fire. It was in a picture frame," said the police officer. Gangnam was quiet. There are bandages around his head and eyes, so it was impossible to guess his expression. However, a quiet voice was suddenly heard from that frail body. "I tried to remember everything. I still remember everything. In case Mom and Dad ever forgot. I tried to cherish every memory, every moment, every day. But now there are no more memories to make." Gangnam's tears fell, and the 2 officers can only watch as this child cried for his parents, whom he would never see again. A few days passed, and the day has come when they could remove the bandages on Gangnam's face. However, Gangnam can't see anything. "I was terrified. What was going to happen to me?" he thought. The doctor asked him if there was anything around him that he could see, even for a little bit. Indeed, through his blurry vision, there was something that Gangnam can very clearly see. However, he didn't say anything, because the monster didn't want him to. After some time, the older man asked the doctor what would happen to the child now, and she replied that he had no relatives around, so they will send him to an orphanage. On the other hand, Gangnam asked the mysterious creature, Can you speak? The black inky creature said nothing. He just ran and hugged him. Although confused, Gangnam accepted the hug. He needed this more than ever before. Suddenly, the old man comes into the room. Are you okay? Gangnam can't see him, but he can remember the person who saved him. I'll be okay. I just hope that my parents are in a better place now, he softly answered. Time passes. The old man and Gangnam are ready to be sent home, and he advises him to be brave and strong. Gangnam nodded, assuring the old man that he'll be okay. He got his smile back, and the feeling of loneliness faded because he has a new friend now who he named Inky. Gangnam was sent to the Spring Flower Orphanage, where the warden introduced him to the other children. Back then, he thought he could overcome anything, until he realized his appearance, and the kids there were scared by the scar on his face and called him a monster. No one wanted to be his friend, and they tried to avoid him. As his hope was shattered, Nam is feeling lonely again, and he misses his parents. However, he still could hold on because he always have Inky by his side. Inky always accompanies him, reads books together with him, and is always there to hear his complaints. However, Gangnam forget, the others could not see Inky. The fear and uncertainty they felt towards Gangnam mounted, turning their feelings into ridicule. That's when they decided that Gangnam is fit to be bullied. One day when he was sitting in class, a student suddenly pulled up his chair and tore up the picture of his parents. They made fun of why he even brought that picture everywhere when he couldn't even see and called him a monster. The children ganged up on him, booing him and keep calling him a monster. The black mist suddenly surrounded Gangnam. Gone are the class and the students. Nam was suddenly in a dark void, accompanied by a monster, a real monster. With a scratchy voice, the monster said, "Nam, let me help you." The monster grinned. "I can kill them all!" Zero Gangnam feels the energy from the monster entered his body as he returns to reality. One of his classmates wondered, could he not see? Because right now, he's smiling right at them. Suddenly, Inky came out of his body and tried to hold Nam down. The kids were freaked out by Gangnam's weird actions. Then, the teacher appears and takes him to the counseling room. "Nam, are you okay? Are you hurt?" asked the teacher. However, Gangnam doesn't remember what he was doing. The teacher asks Gangnam to tell her everything he feels. She wanted to know what the kids did and what happened. Suddenly, Gangnam let go of his teacher's hand and said, "You can stop pretending you care about me. I hear everything." Gangnam may not be able to see, but he can hear just fine. He had heard the teacher tell the warden that it would be better if Gangnam wasn't schooled there because he was just a problem child. Gangnam can tell that both his warden and the teachers did not like him. On the other hand, the old man visited Gangnam's parents' graves and told them that Gangnam bravely faced the world, despite the pain he felt after losing his parents. The old man also said that he will stay by his side forever, no matter what happened. After that, the old man wanted to meet Gangnam at the orphanage, and the warden doesn't seem happy to see him. The old man then saw Gangnam sitting beside a bookshelf and went to greet him. However, Gangnam suddenly yelled at him and asked him to leave. But this was aimed at Inky, and not at the old man. When he realized the old man was beside him, he apologized for his behavior. The old man asks why he is crying, and Gangnam denied it. He also asked him why he keeps coming there again and again. The old man reveals that he tried to take him away from here and says that he is a special child. He's not a monster. Gangnam can listen and feel more than others. Hearing this, he starts crying, and the old man now knows he is struggling there, so he decides to adopt him and gives details to the warden. But they have issues regarding his age and that he lives alone. But with his conviction, they agree that he should bring Gangnam occasionally to them and report on his progress. The old man agreed. Soon he was adopted and could trust someone for the first time, so he called the old man Grandpa. Gangnam is very thankful because he was the one who saved him twice. He's accepted to a new school and isn't scared or intimidated anymore, though the situation is the same everywhere he goes. The students again called him a monster, but he no longer cared about it because Grandpa was always his source of strength and Inky was always by his side. He fought very hard through all the problems, and many years passed peacefully. Gangnam grew up very diligent in his studies, and Inky was the one who always helped him. Inky always reads him questions, and Gangnam solves them when they come back home. One day on their way home, Inky asked him to turn left, which was a different route than usual. He takes Gangnam to a discount snack shop and asks him to buy snacks, but Gangnam refuses, saying he needs to save money. Inky starts crying and says he won't guide him anymore. Because of this, Gangnam relented and ended up buying snacks for Inky. On their way home, suddenly some boys appeared, knocked him to the ground and started beating him. They made fun of his scars, and one of them said, "I would give you up for adoption too if I had a kid like you." Because of this, Gangnam decided to fight back and pushes the bully back. They all jumped on him and started beating him. When they were done beating him, the bullies left him there. Gangnam sat pitifully and asked Inky if his face was okay, because he couldn't let Grandpa know about it. Inky replied that Gangnam currently looked very stupid. Inky says he can change him and even make him able to see again. But Gangnam asks him not to tease him, as Inky is only his imagination. He states that he is not his imagination, but he lives inside of his body. Inky said that it is getting harder and harder for Gangnam to live like this, as many people would come to hate him wherever he goes. Gangnam admits that it was hard, but today was hard for him. "Just say the word. Say that you're tired of this, that you can't take it anymore," said Inky ominously. Gangnam was quiet. He didn't expect Inky to change like this. Seeing the seriousness of the situation, he answered, "I can't take it anymore." Suddenly, Inky jumped and entered his body. Black mist wrapped around Gangnam, and he felt that something had changed. On the other hand, Grandpa is waiting for him at home and wondered why Gangnam isn't home yet. He is never this late, so he decided to go out and meet him. On the way, he hears the boys talking about him, that they piss him off, and it can't be true that the boy is blind. Grandpa went to them and asked them about Gangnam, and whether what they said is true. All of them ignored the grandpa, one of them even threw a cigarette at him. Annoyed, Grandpa slapped one of them so hard that his hand was imprinted on his face. Not stopping there, Grandpa also slapped the other boys to give them a lesson. The boys started crying and apologized to him for everything. On the other hand, Gangnam was gripped by Inky tightly, and the black blob is getting bigger. Inky said that first, he will change his scar, both his eyes and then his strength. After that he gets scared, and a lot of pain entered his body. So Inky advises him to have a good rest and states that he will not remember it later. Gangnam was unconscious, and then when he woke up, he was surprised that he could now see everything so clearly. He then called for Inky, but he was not there. Gangnam called him repeatedly, but he did not answer. Then he saw Grandfather, who was looking for him. Finally, Grandfather managed to find him. He hugs him, saying he's glad he's safe and didn't ask anything about his scar and bring him home. Gangnam tells everything that happened to him, and Grandpa advises him to keep it a secret, feeling nothing good will come of it. After that incident, Gangnam ends up transferring schools. He didn't realize how it had happened, but Inky no longer appears after he regains his sight. Gangnam and Grandpa got a new home for a new start in life, and they both have a peaceful life. Gangnam wanted to see the world after 10 years of being blind, so he spends most of his time in the streets and parks. One day, while Gangnam was enjoying the weather, he saw a man talking to himself, angrily screaming about someone who had damaged his car. When he saw Gangnam looking at him, he started yelling at him and asked him to apologize by bowing before him. Meanwhile, a girl shows up there and forbids him to apologize, saying he did nothing wrong, and asks him to leave before she reports him to the police. The guy gets offensive and tries to slap her, but she dodges his attack and kicks him in the face. The guy runs away from there, and the girl asks whether he's okay. Gangnam gives her a bandage for her face when a boy calls him. He asks him what she is doing there and calls her. He takes her inside, and Gangnam is surprised to find out she is an athlete. Today is his first day at school, and he saw a cat following him and staying with him. He starts playing with the cat and forgets about school, and when he realized he's distracted, he is shocked to know that he is late. On the other hand, the teacher welcomes students who are wearing uniforms. Entering the school, the teacher asked a student to come back and add his name to the list of students not wearing the proper uniform, but he leaves, saying that the uniform is suffocating to him. The teacher then asked 2 students to close the gate when Gangnam got there, so he ran at full speed and reached the gate. Before approaching the gate, Jin-hak was surprised that he ran there while closing the door. While the other students remained outside the gate and were shocked, he thought he had seen him somewhere and remembered. He was the same person who had spoken to his sister yesterday. After that, it was revealed that Ha-byul and Gangnam were in the same class, and he was surprised to see that. There, the teacher asked him to introduce himself, But he needed clarification because introducing himself is always scary. He flusteredly introduces himself and says that he hopes they will get along. And the situation this time is different. The students greeted him warmly. They asked other questions about his last school and his personality. The teacher asked him to sit next to Honam, who was always sleepy in class. He welcomed him as well and allowed him to ask when he needed anything because she will help him. Gangnam thinks he might find new friends. Ha-byul also shows up, surprised to see him there but happy he got good classmates. Another girl named Kim Jahan introduced him and asked him to be close to each other, while Honam tells him to be careful of Ha-byul as he is the strongest personality in their class. He mentions this and starts beating him up, and Gangnam enjoys all of this. After that, Honam helped her with her studies, and after school they offered to go home together, and for the first time, she felt like she was in school. When Ha-byul and Gangnam got home, they were surprised to see that they lived in the same building and were even neighbors of each other. The next day he saw the cat again, took some cat food for it, and named it Nuru. While another student bringing food for the cat shows up and is surprised to see him there. At lunch, Honam asked her to have lunch together, and then went to the snack shop to buy some snacks. He was talking to her when he bumped into another student who insulted him and called him blind. Gangnam helped him pick up his things, and was about to contact the boy because of his rude behavior, when Honam put her hand on her mouth and forbade him to say anything to her during lunch. He asks him to stay away from that guy because Hyung has a gang, and they also have someone connected to mafia. The boy sits behind them and makes fun of him and calls him a coward. Gangnam can't stand all of this and gets up and asks why he said that. Something, and asked him to apologize to Hona. The boy angrily got up and punched him, but was surprised when his punch didn't reach him. He tried repeatedly, but every time Gangnam dodged his attack, Honam interrupted them and told them that he is a student transfer and do not know about him. But Hyung punched him badly and knocked him on the ground by saying he must not disturb them. Suddenly the monster appeared there again and asked, "How does it feel to see someone the way they looked before?" and asks if he hates fighting that much. Then she can leave it to him, while Hyung tried to hit him. But this time he didn't just dodge, but hit him back. When he came to his senses, he had no memory of what happened. He lay on the ground. His group members came up to him and asked him about his class and name. They will attack him together. When Jin woke up and asked them all to eat and get out of there and help Honam to get up, Gangnam takes him to the hospital where the doctor asks him about his very bad bruising. But he doesn't tell him anything. After that he asked, why didn't he say that Hyeon had hit him? But he heard the teacher talking about him and that the transfer student was troubled. So if he got into trouble there, they would kick him out so he couldn't get called into the office to fight. But Gangnam doesn't remember anything. On the other hand, Hyung asked Jin Hyuk to help him out and destroy the guy together. But she warns him that if he gets caught this time, he will be kicked out of school. After that, he joined his friends and planned to teach a lesson. When the SAE-ho got there and asked them to stay away from them, one of them tried to pick a fight with him. But he taught her a good lesson by kicking her in the face. After that, while sitting in class, Da-hyun called him and said he smelled of cigarettes because of the boy he fought. He kept thinking about the person who fed the cat's new room that Gangnam provided. On the way home, he told Ha-byul about the cat and that it had become his friend. When he entered the house, Grandpa was not there and all the lights were off. She switches on the light and is surprised to see Inky there. When he saw her there, he barely ran and slammed himself into the room. While Gangnam wonders where he is, he opens the door but there's no one and starts looking for him, as he's stuck to the roof. After that, he jumps on her face and asks if she missed him all the time. He receives a call from Grandpa telling him about the food he left for him on the table and a credit card to buy whatever he wants. She tells him that she has an urgent task to do. Do that. He can't come home for a few days and ask about his school. They went for a walk, and he asked her where she was all the time. Inky tells him that she is resting for a while as she is very tired after healing him and asks him how he feels after seeing everything. After some time, she tells him that she will sleep in his body and meets him soon and disappears from there. Suddenly, the cat appeared again, and she started to feed him. When Da-hyun appeared again and thought that she was the same person from the time when the cat saw her, there she left the food and turned to Da-hyun, while he is surprised to see Gangnam there. They both knew each other from childhood, them in the past when she fed the cats. One day Gangnam came up there and started to feed the cats and bring the fish, For that, he got scared when he realized someone was already present and apologized to him, saying that he didn't know someone was there. As he cannot see, she offers him to sit with her and feeds the cat together and asks him why he keeps covering his face. She replies that everyone says her face is disgusting. She said she could put her hands down and ask if her heart must be in so much pain and comfort her when no one would talk to her. But now she doesn't recognize him, thinking he can't be Gangnam because he can't see and has scars on his face. At night when he lies in bed to sleep, he feels lonely, hoping Grandpa and Inky will come back soon. At night he wakes up with light coming into his eyes and gets up to check if someone is at the door. He saw his childhood when Gangnam was little, standing with a picture and his mother would gaslight. She screams and rushes at him to stop him from turning on the gas. But there's fire again and a monster appears in there that pulls her back into the room. He wakes up from his bed and realizes it was just a dream, and his head starts hurting badly. He was washing his face and thinking about yesterday's slamming words when he threw Hyung on the floor, but doesn't remember that he did, and thinks maybe Inky knows something about it. Next morning when he went to school, Ha-byul called him and asked him why he was going to school when it was weekend. Today she came back home and exclaimed that she thought today was Friday, but he told her they even talked about their plans for the weekend. While eating together, he states that he ate with Hanum yesterday, but Ha-byul tells him that he ate with Hanum on Thursday, and it was Saturday, and that he had lunch with him on Friday. All this confuses him and reveals that he doesn't remember anything about Friday. She went to the library and confirmed it was about wondering how this could happen to her, while Da-hyun appears there, and he thinks he is the guy from the park, while he thinks he looks a lot like the gang guy. Hanum comes there and calls him by his name. She got so very shocked that she ran away from there. On the other hand, Seoho also reached the library when he received the call. From the other side, they told him about Hyung's plan to beat up some students. While he himself is on the other side and asks them to say those words, they ask him to help. But he hangs up saying no one asked Hanam about his condition when he was hit by Haya. He then told them about him, that he is gathering people to beat them, and ask, do they know anything about him? He assures them that friends help each other, so that he will help them too, and they will get along well and shake hands with Gangnam. When he leaves from there, Hanam warns him to be careful, and when Gangnam asks him about the reason he disclosed that, he first tells him about Gang Hyung, and that they have real gangsters in their mix. But according to rumors, the whole gang is afraid of seals. Suddenly, Inky appears there, and he is threatened by his sudden arrival. Hanam asks him what happened. He makes an excuse that bugs only come at him suddenly. Hanam enters the library and asks, when will he appear, while Da-hyun watches him from the roof and smiles. Seoho appeared there and asked him why he was smiling, but he turned it around, saying he wasn't. When he came back home, he saw people calling someone to kill himself. The man jumps off the bridge and Gangnam rushes at him. He says he needs to save her, but Inky begs him to stop and says he doesn't need to meddle into other people's business and keeps quiet. People called 911, and he felt like someone had grabbed his leg and he couldn't move. He asks Inky, is this his doing, and lets him go? Because that person could die, but he told him to let him die, because he couldn't save him anyway. But Gangnam still tries to save the man and jumps off the bridge. He goes into the water, finds him, and tries to pull him up, but he can't do this as he is tied to something. Kkamjang reaches there and asks him to come up and says he has done enough. What is the use of saving a man who wants to die? But she didn't listen to him, untied him, and took him out of the water. A monster appears there and says Gangnam is too kind, and that he should have killed that guy. Inky asks him if it was his doing, and he states that he's been planning it since Friday, and warns him that he can't stop it for too long. On the other hand, Dakyan and Seon-ho are sitting outside the library, and he asks if he knows a boy named Gangnam. He replies that he kinda knows her, but why is she asking about him all of a sudden? They see an ambulance passing in front of them, and wonder if something happened. There the rescue team reached the bridge, and the people there told them about the boy who jumped from there, but before he could jump into the water, Gangnam got out with the man, and they immediately gave him first aid. When he regained consciousness, the students saved him. When he revealed that he broke his back, they put him in the ambulance and asked Gangnam to come with them, and they would take him home, after bringing the patient to the hospital. As they were leaving, rescuer asked him if he was hurt anywhere, and he remembered that he had injured his right hand, but it was okay now. He then asked the patient and why he jumped from the bridge. But the man said he never did. He reveals that he was planning to meet someone today. But suddenly someone calls him. Then from behind a monster appears, there grabs him and takes him to the bridge where he jumps from the bridge. But now he doesn't remember anything about what happened to him. Then he thanks Gangnam for saving his life and says he wants to meet his saving parents. But she tells him that her parents died and she lives with her grandfather. Meanwhile, the rescuers try to remember that he saw him before as a child. They drive him home and then he asks his partner, does he remember that incident 10 years ago? The student earlier reminded him of the kid from that incident. Someone else reveals that in that incident, someone killed the whole family and did arson, and after the murder, the culprit disappeared from there. After that, the child cannot remember the culprit because of a trauma called amnesia. Grandfather, on the other hand, meets someone and gives him Gangnam's document and tells him that it has been 10 years, and the man states that there is a possibility that it has been hiding in the child's body all this time. Moreover, it would be dangerous to go. It was because he had seen what kind of existence it was. Grandfather asks him if there is any method to get rid of it, and he states that there is nothing else but to kill him, just like that time 10 years ago. When Gangnam got home, he realized that he forgot his keys somewhere. Ha-byul appears there returning from library and looking tired, when she tells him about the key. She took him home and gave him a towel to dry himself with his brother's clothes to wear. He showers there thinking about Kkamjang's reaction, and says he will ask when they will meet next. Suddenly, he noticed his body and wondered, did it always look like this? When he put on clothes, their Jin Hayek was very loose on him. Suddenly Inky appears there and brings the key to him. At the same time, she was afraid to look at him. Suddenly, when someone opens the door and collides with her, he runs to punch her and they both fall on the ground. On the other hand, Seho was sleeping in the library, and when he woke up, he saw all the students staring at him. He looked for Da-hyun, who was still studying there, and planned to stay until the place closed. Suddenly, he received a call, and the boy asked him to go to the hospital immediately, because all the Hyungs were there, and it was related to the transfer students. He immediately goes to the hospital, and a boy who is present there shows him everyone's condition and says the transfer student has beaten them all. She asked about what happened, when she heard he was gathering people with money, and she replied that she would tell him. All that happened was Friday. Gangnam was going home with his friends when he was waiting for him with his gang, and they went their separate ways. After some time, they saw him alone and started to follow him, but he went to a back alley. When they got there, he hid his face, and they thought he was crying, but he was happy and couldn't wait to beat them all. After 3 people attacked him, but he won them all in just 1 strike. Others jumped at him to attack, but he was so fast and strong that he dodged all their attacks and overpowered them all. Hyung gets really scared seeing his face because he smiles and likes to fight. Now the boy tells Seoho that the transfer student is very scary. While he thought he was being played by his hands, he remembers the last time when Gangnam beat Hayam. He realized that he smiled, and in a blink of an eye, he realized he saw for a moment that there were dark humans, and he never thought he would come across them like this. On the other hand, a man tells a professor that an older man wants to meet him, but he asks him to say he is out. But he says he used to work with him. Meanwhile, when Gangnam goes to sleep, the goat appears again. This time he grabs her with his hands so she won't disappear, and he asks her how she feels hugging Ha-byul. She asks if he'll disappear again, and he replies that he's still tired so he can disappear again. Gangnam asked him to always come back because he wanted him and Grandpa to always be by his side. Kkamjang asked, did he really like Grandpa? On the other hand, Grandfather meets Professor Jang Ji-woon and tells the receptionist that he worked with him 10 years ago. She waits for him and watches through the window as some people load cargo and remembers something related 10 years ago. He also works as a smuggler for Professor Jang Ji-woon and wants to live his life for the sake of others, because he has no family, so he meets the professor and decides to help him till the end. Now the receptionist tells him that the professor is waiting for him in his lab, in room 306, so she goes to his office. When she enters the office, she asks him about the boxes outside, and that he hauled them 10 years ago and yells at her, because he promised to stop them after the incident happened 10 years ago. The professor tells him that 10 years have passed, and there is no proof. But Grandfather takes it from his shirt and says someone died because of their project. Professor states he can't give up research as many people are looking forward to it. Moreover, if they were alive, they would be able to make more progress in their studies, but they did not know that they were going. He threw a tantrum and then kicked the bucket. Grandfather was angry about this punch. He fell to the ground and said he was ashamed of himself. For believing him, he needed to uncover everything even though it was too late. But the professor asked him not to do anything. There was no need as there was no evidence left, and it was just an accident. When he left the professor's office, thought Grandpa knew everything, so there was enough reason to kill him. The next morning, Inky asks Gangnam to give him some food, but there's nothing in the fridge, so they decide to go to the supermarket to buy something at the market. He teases her a lot and believes in expensive things, while Gangnam tries to stop him. When they return home, she sees Habyul on the way, and she asks if she bought things for her grandfather, and he replies that she bought them only for him, as she has been away for a few days. She opened her bag to check what she had bought and was surprised to see that she was only having ramen and broccoli for dinner. After some time when she was cooking her dinner, she knocked on his door and asked him to come to her house and have dinner with them. His parents greet him warmly while Jin comes there and Habyul asks, "Is she his girlfriend?" And when she yelled at him, he apologized, saying he didn't know. They were still in the flirting stage. After that, he had dinner with them in a happy mood. Jin asked her if she had seen her clothes as he was sure she had washed them but couldn't find them anywhere. They are both shocked to know this as they actually forgot to return it, as she is so confused, while her mother asks if she has a boyfriend. If not, then think about their daughter while feeling very embarrassed and asking them to have dinner quietly. But Gangnam is enjoying all of this, with a happy family. Suddenly he remembers his family, and all the memories come back in his mind, and the monster appears there again, and tells him that his parents were killed, while Inky appears there, and tells him to forget this like that. Something that never happened. Habyul's mother asks him about what his parents are doing, but he's in a traumatized state and does not answer. Habyul called him and asked about what happened, but he did not answer. When she touches his shoulder, she gets scared and moves back, and her face fills with tears. They were shocked to see him, but soon they changed the subject and neither of them asked anything about his condition. He soon became normal, but Habyul noticed that her tears fell on the table. After dinner, they both stand on the balcony chatting, and she apologizes to him for her parents. When he looked up at the sky, he asked if something had happened back then when they were having dinner. He replied that he had just suddenly had a bout of nostalgia. She tells him that her parents died when she was young and barely remembers their faces now. But today, when he saw his family, he remembered them. She then comforts him and asks him to eat together often from now on, as neighbors or family. On the other hand, Professor Park asks a man about Director Park, and he reveals that he has been hospitalized because of a broken back. He gives him some documents and asks them to be signed by Park. When she visited him and asked him if he knew anything about the older man's sudden visit, but he replied that he too was hearing about this for the first time, and it had been a long time since he had last seen her. When he left his office, he thought that most likely the two of them would try to save the child that time out of compassion, and the second wanted to make him a rat. But he thought they were both wrong, because he was just a monster and he was going to kill him, no matter what he needed to do, so he gave his photo to a few people, gangsters, and asked them to kill Gangnam as soon as possible. The next morning, Jin is walking when he sees Gangnam playing with the cat, and wonders what he's doing there in uniform. Meanwhile, a cleaner comes there and asks if he has cleaned the street again for him, and Gangnam tells him he has road. He asks her not to do this again as it's not his responsibility, but she tells him that she likes to help him. Jin watches them and remembers when Habyul told him about his parents and him living with his grandfather. She tells him that she seems to care more about others than herself, or maybe she has her circumstances. After some time, he was getting ready for school, and was surprised to see Gangnam was still there, and this time he was playing with the kids. After that, she said goodbye to the kids and saw Jinhak there, and they decided to go to school together. On their way, Jin asked her to talk to him casually, and there was no need to be polite. After that, he tells Habyul about what Jin said to him, and he too is shocked to know about it, and reveals that he likes her. She tells him that she was very talkative and playful when they were young and changing. When he was young, he always trained himself because he wanted to be an MMA fighter. Her mother and father were also very supportive of her, but she had a terrible accident which was serious enough that she had to undergo major surgery and be hospitalized for a very long time. Their parents were always busy taking care of him, so they couldn't pay attention to Jin, and he started talking less. As time went on, and the time she spent alone grew longer, she started playing with boys, and suddenly said she would stop practicing. Time passed as he returned to his normal life. She then realized how much she had changed and started bullying boys, and she started crying on the spot because she thought this happened because of her. After that, he started practicing again, and slowly things got better for his family as well. She then decides to follow in her brother's footsteps and starts working out, so she can endure the pain after the effects of her surgery. And that's why she likes it, because it reminds her of her younger self. After some time, she went to the bathroom to change clothes. When he passed by Jin-hyuk, they were chatting when Hyung appeared and was scared to see Gangnam there. She gets scared and runs from there and thinks when they got so close to Jin. Hanum tells him that no one will mess with him in school because Jin-hyuk hates when someone messes with his people. On the other hand, some students ganged up on Hyung and asked, "Why is everyone following him? He ends up semi-paralyzed. When he was fine, he tried to tell them about the transfer student. But they annoyed him and started kicking him repeatedly. She doesn't believe him as boys say she called them and had people beat her up. While his friends show up there and the boy asks, 'Are they Hyung's friends?' But they were so scared that they turned their backs and saying they didn't know him, he started beating him again. Meanwhile, Jin comes there and kicks him in the face and he falls down. From a distance in class, who is he and why is he beating up the boss?" Jin replied that he was Hyung's friend. He wakes up and tries to attack her again. But this time Jin-hyuk not only dodged his attack but held his hand tightly and fell to the ground. One of them took a chair and hit him on the head very badly, so he started bleeding. Jin grabbed them by their feet and knocked them to the ground. He holds them from their faces and says if they pull one more time then he will kill them. They get hurt and leave from there, while Hyung asked him to stay away from the transfer student as they looked at each other. But Jin asks him to stop talking nonsense and says he believes that he is not that kind of boy. The next morning he went to meet the cat and get some cat food for him. But he had already eaten the food, and the kids there told him that a boy named Gangnam came there every day and played with him every day. He confirms that he is the same Gangnam from his childhood, and now stands in front of the mirror and practices introducing himself to him. Surprised to see Gangnam watching him, while eating snacks he tries to leave from there. But she asked him what kind of greeting he was practicing, and he asked her to act as if she had seen nothing. When he turned around, he collided with someone, and it was Gangnam. He says no one ran from there, and thinks about why this happened to him and how. He asks if he remembers it, while Seon-ho shows up there and asks, "Is there anything interesting beyond what he watched?" And he exclaims that he smiled a lot these days, but he asked her to forget what she saw. In spare time, Ha-byul tells them he is on duty every day, so he will be late and asks them not to wait for him and go home. On the way home, Gangnam noticed some movement in his body. Again he opened his bag and was surprised to see a goat there who brought an umbrella for him because there was a rain prediction. Suddenly it starts raining and he remembers Ha-byul telling him he didn't get an umbrella. When it started to rain, Gangnam immediately arrived and asked him to come home together. She asks if he came back because of her, and she tells him she came there because she didn't have an umbrella. She then asks, what kind of girl does he like? He replies that he wants someone who likes him regardless of his looks and questions about his preferences. He exclaims that he wants someone tall and kind, who worries a lot about him and puts a lot of effort into studying and working out. Too detailed, huh? And thought he was very picky, while she thought he was just an idiot since she gave him so many pointers. They were about to head home chatting when someone clicked on their photo and sent it to someone who accepted. Legion and he ordered his men to find out his history the last 10 years and what he was doing during that time. He then went to the hospital to get Director Park's signs on some papers and knocked on his door. As several patients passed him as he entered the room, they left their wheelchairs and stuck to the door to hear their conversation. On the other hand, he tells Director Park that he needs his signature on a paper regarding a project that looks quite suspicious, and he gets up to give him signs. He notices she hurt her back. So why did she get up so early and asks, doesn't her back hurt? But she said, she is fine now. On the other hand, Gangnam is sitting with Inky in the garden, but he disappeared suddenly because Seoho came to meet him and asked him to go with him somewhere. He asked, where did they go? But he did not answer. He then took her to an abandoned place and stopped. He tries to kick him, but Gangnam dodges his attack and asks him, what happened to him suddenly? She then asked him, is that Dark Mortal project still a work in progress? He later said that he had been looking for her for a long time. While Gangnam doesn't understand what he's talking about, he tries to attack her again, and she asks, why did he do this to her? But he's too fast and Gangnam doesn't see it clearly. He kicked her repeatedly. When the Dark Man appeared on Gangnam's body and asked him to stop, he then grabbed his leg and slammed him against the wall. The Dark Man disappeared again and Gangnam asked, is he okay? And Seon-ho said, "At least he should be fine. This expert has sent all Hyungs to the hospital. How can he fight?" Seon-ho asked him, "What kind of creature is he?" He was surprised that he could see it too. He clutched his head and pressed down forcefully. Inky screams to leave him because it hurts him. Gangnam turns into dark human again and kicks him from behind, and Seon-ho is surprised that he looks like the same dark human he saw last time. But he looked fine from the outside, or maybe he was being controlled. He wondered, was he another dark human? While he took it from his mouth, Seon-ho asked, "How do they coexist?" Gangnam said he would show him if he was really curious, and held his hand, put it in his mouth and said he should help him. In return, he took off his ring. But soon after, Seon-ho turned into another monster and asked him to spit out the ring. They started fighting, and Seo-ho fell on the ground. He asked her to put him back. Gangnam spit out the ring, and he took it, saying he will now show him their true form. Seon-ho was surprised to see that all the dark humans were inside his body, and there was no way his body could hold it. Gangnam tells him that they were imprisoned there for too long and it's time for them to come out and have it. He would take revenge and ask her to tear everything up with her hands, like she did in the past. Seo-ho tries to fight back and pulls his hands back, but Gangnam forbids him to do so and says he might have them, but there are hundreds of them. While Inky shows up there and tries to erase his memory again, while the dark man begs him not to, because the kid needs to know by now too. He also said he could feel her weakening because he made a mistake by caring for her. While Seon-ho returned to his human form and wondered, when did he wear the ring? He then realized that Inky was helping him. He asked him to help Gangnam, so he lifted him on his shoulders and carried him home. When they got home, he asked Inky, why didn't he know anything? Silence for a moment. Then she said she would tell him everything, but in return, she needs his help. She reveals that the dark human with green eyes she met is the one she can't control, and asks him to take care of her until she can really endure him. In return, she will tell him everything about his identity and the Dark Mortal Project. He thinks the boy looks like Seo-ho, but it can't be him because he died 10 years ago. Inky tells him that Gangnam won't remember anything since he erased his memory years ago. His teacher called Grandpa and gave him a picture of his family that had been torn up by other kids, and he tried to put it back because he thought it was precious to him. He was sure it was right to keep it after he erased his memory, so that he wouldn't be eaten by it. She lost her memories regarding the past, and about her own brother's memories. Gangjio, 10 years ago. It was spring 22nd, and he called his mom and asked about Gangnam and what he wanted for his birthday. He replied that he just wanted to be with his older brother. One day he looked worried on the phone, and she asked him not to push himself and let him know if he was having a hard time. But he said he was fine. Her doctor is also present here, and she advises him to tell his family about his illness, that he has less than a year to live. But he says he still has time and wants them to be happy. While he was out with them, he was sitting in the rain one day when Director Park came up to him and said he knew someone who could help him and gave him his business card. After taking some time to think about it, he called the number. After a few days, they went on a family trip having fun with each other and took a family photo there. One day he told his parents that he had an urgent task, so he couldn't come there for a while. He was working as an assistant professor, which would give him some benefits. After a few days, Professor Jang holds a press conference and shows the world his new experiment of dark humans and proclaims that objects will enter their bodies and be enslaved until their death. He shows them that with his help, they can safely use dark humans as long as they have them. At that time they were testing. The sick and disabled grandfather and Legion were also doing their work, when Jin's gang appeared there and asked them for directions. Grandfather gave directions and he then bought drinks to quench their thirst. On the other side, Director Park's side appreciates Professor for his presentation and says the guys saw the result and drooled like a pack of dogs. He experimented on weak children, and after injecting body samples, the subjects turned black and the dark humans were finished. He had created hundreds of dark humans up to that point and revealed that one could acquire extraordinary physical abilities, or in some cases unusually fast regenerative abilities. But he has a special ability that is yet to be discovered, and will need to run more tests for a more accurate assessment. After that, Jin came to meet him, and he told him that he couldn't reveal the experiment to the world, and they would start it in a week. When Seo-ho is brought there for another experiment, he is ready for investigation. The professor is talking to him over the loudspeaker and tells him that black gas will come out of the vessel in front of him, enter his lungs, spread all over his body, and give him a ring to wear. When he couldn't take it anymore, they started the experiment, and suddenly a large amount of gas was emitted from the container in front of him. He states that the gases produced from burning dark humans enter the body and the life within it. He tries to free himself every time. When he becomes vulnerable, it awakens the darkness within him and turns him into mortal darkness. The experiment is over, and the professor is surprised that he seems fine, and nothing happened to him. Then he was surprised to see Seon-ho, but he told him he was his son and took him with him because his wife was out. When he left, the professor thought he had completely recovered since the dark mortal removed the ailments in his body, which meant the dark mortal that was in his body would probably dissipate or die. For the second try, and when she was fine, he took her for the next try and her body gradually changed. He hit his 21st try and was absolutely fine. It had also been a month since he had arrived there, and by that time grandfather and Jin's gang had become best friends. One day he asked why he always smiles, even though he was suffering. And finally the time came when Professor was ready to test him with Dark Human, which was impossible to test because it changed the subject to Dark Human. In the blink of an eye, a dark, green-eyed human was present. One day Seoho was trying to find someone when Grandpa asked if he was looking for something. He asked him Jin, but grandfather didn't know about him either. It was the day he started his 22nd try and he thought it was bigger than usual. Everyone started to wonder, would it be better to breathe that kind of smoke? As soon as they started the experiment, a dark, green-eyed human appeared there and thought he was different from everyone else. When he tries to control them all, she grabs him from his mouth and asks him what makes him so strong. After a while, he disappeared and the gang said he was fine and put the ring back on. In the evening, the professor thought about it and was surprised that the result of this experiment also turned out to be the same, and that simply increasing the amount was meaningless. Now she needs to give him some stimulation. The next day, the professor tells him that he has to stop the experiment from now on, as his illness is gone. But he asks her for help that she is a special case, so he wants some time to look into it, and the gang immediately agrees, saying he wants to see his project become a success. In the evening, she celebrates her recovery with Grandpa, and tells him that she decided to continue helping with the project because she wants to help others. He also offers grandfather to come with him and eat at his house. She happily accepts his feelings. The next day, he will be home for a few days. Seoho asked him why he looked tired, and Jin's gang told him that he couldn't sleep because of bad dreams. He then asked her to go with him and said he would give her a lift. She sits with him in the car, while he stands there silently and remembers her face when he looked different to her. Legion asks him to knock if he is not feeling well. He tells him that he cannot sleep because of a bad dream, in which he saw his family get into an accident and all pass away. Meanwhile, Grandpa also thinks he should give him some fruits to give to his family. Thought he was also near her house, so he decided to go there. Otherwise, the professor would go home Seoho when a man rushes at them and informs them of a problem. He reveals that all of the dark humans are gone. He shows him the CCTV footage where Jin's gang enters the lab and takes them all with him. He realized that it was not the gang Jin, but the green-eyed dark humans had brought 700 dark humans with him. He observed that from the start the ring was out of control. He turned all of those test subjects into Darkmen because he wanted to increase the number of Darkmen as much as possible. At the same time, when they got home, Grandfather was already there and gave him a fruit basket for his family. As they were leaving, he thought of sitting on the bench for a while, where he saw Gangnam with his parents still at the gate. When they got there and were happy to see him, Grandpa wondered why he didn't come out. Their parents offered him a meal with them, but he declined, saying he had to go somewhere. After some time, they both were playing and their mother was cooking food for them. When she turned off the gas, nothing happened there. After that, they had dinner in a good mood, and his mother cooked all his favorite dishes. Grandpa, on the other hand, gets up to leave and thinks he is making dinner with them. He was about to leave when he heard a very loud explosion. Apparently, Gangnam's house was on fire. He rushes to save them. He finds someone injured and asks him not to help them and not to go inside as it is very dangerous. But he doesn't listen and runs away when he enters the house. Gangnam calls him and begs him to save Gangnam and cries, saying all he wants to remember and be by their side a little more, but his mistake makes all other dark humans ask him to let them go. Otherwise, they will all die. But he didn't listen. After the incident, the professor got the news that they had found traces of Darkman, and it seems that they all did not perish because of that incident. All his supporters dropped out, and it became difficult for him to create more Darkmen. Grandpa comes to him and asks him about the experiment in which Genjian participated, and he is surprised to learn that he was also present at the scene. He reveals that the monster he saw back then was indeed Gangnam, and the side effect of his experiment was that he killed his family. Legion lied to him and said he was present with them, and he saw Gangnam go berserk and blow up his own house, and it was not Gangnam who died in the fire, but a monster. After that, the rampage occurred, causing the police to think it was an outsider who was seen at the scene, and later became the prime suspect and fugitive. When he tries to control them all, she grabs him from his mouth and asks him what makes him so strong. After a while, he disappeared and the gang said he was fine and put the ring back on. In the evening, the professor thought about it and was surprised that the result of this experiment also turned out to be the same, and that simply increasing the amount was meaningless. Now she needs to give him some stimulation. The next day, the professor tells him that he has to stop the experiment from now on, as his illness is gone. But he asks her for help, that she is a special case. So he wants some time to look into it, and the gang immediately agrees, saying he wants to see his project become a success. In the evening, she celebrates her recovery with Grandpa and tells him that she decided to continue helping with the project because she wants to help others. He also offers Grandfather to come with him and eat at his house. She happily accepts his feelings. The next day he will be home for a few days. Seoho asked him why he looked tired, and Jin's gang told him that he couldn't sleep because of bad dreams. He then asked her to go with him and said he would give her a lift. She sits with him in the car, while he stands there silently and remembers her face when he looked different to her. Legion asks him to knock if he is not feeling well. He tells him that he cannot sleep because of a bad dream, in which he saw his family get into an accident and all pass away. Meanwhile, Grandpa also thinks he should give him some fruits to give to his family. Thought he was also near her house, so he decided to go there. Otherwise, the professor would go home Seoho, when a man rushes at them and informs them of a problem. He reveals that all of the dark humans are gone. He shows him the CCTV footage where Jin's gang enters the lab and takes them all with him. He realized that it was not the gang Jin, but the green-eyed dark humans had brought 700 dark humans with him. He observed that from the start, the ring was out of control. He turned all of those test subjects into Darkmen, because he wanted to increase the number of Darkmen as much as possible. At the same time, when they got home, Grandfather was already there and gave him a fruit basket for his family. As they were leaving, he thought of sitting on the bench for a while where he saw Gangnam with his parents still at the gate. When they got there and were happy to see him, Grandpa wondered why he didn't come out. Their parents offered him a meal with them, but he declined, saying he had to go somewhere. After some time, they both were playing, and their mother was cooking food for them. When she turned off the gas, nothing happened there. After that, they had dinner in a good mood, and his mother cooked all his favorite dishes. Grandpa, on the other hand, gets up to leave and thinks he is making dinner with them. He was about to leave when he heard a very loud explosion. Apparently, Gangnam's house was on fire. He rushes to save them. He finds someone injured and asks him not to help them and not to go inside as it is very dangerous. But he doesn't listen and runs away when he enters the house. Gangnam calls him and begs him to save Gangnam, and cries, saying all he wants to remember and be by their side a little more, but his mistake makes all other dark humans ask him to let them go. Otherwise, they will all die. But he didn't listen. After the incident, the professor got the news that they had found traces of Darkman, and it seems that they all did not perish because of that incident. All his supporters dropped out, and it became difficult for him to create more Darkmen. Grandpa comes to him and asks him about the experiment in which Genjian participated, and he is surprised to learn that he was also present at the scene. He reveals that the monster he saw back then was indeed Gangnam, and the side effect of his experiment was that he killed his family. Legion lied to him and said he was present with them, and he saw Gangnam go berserk and blow up his own house, and it was not Gangnam who died in the fire, but a monster. After that, the rampage occurred, causing the police to think it was an outsider who was seen at the scene and later became the prime suspect and fugitive. He then invited Da-hyun and Seoho for Friday dinner at the restaurant. The day had come when they all decided to have dinner at the family restaurant. Meanwhile, someone is watching them from a distance. They leave by bus, and Jin notices a black car. He observed that the vehicle had been around them recently, and they had followed him, even at school. He asked Gangnam to leave, and he would follow later. After checking something on the other hand, she asks him why he came there. As he said before, that he didn't come, and Hanam was relieved when he saw Habyul and Gangnam there, because now he will shut his mouth. Suddenly Inky appears and tries to talk to him. Seoho tries to ignore him. He was excited about the barbecue, and he thought he should at least keep his mouth shut. On the other hand, the bullies stare at Gangnam's photo, and they wonder why he isn't wearing the ring, and think they will find out soon enough. Meanwhile, Jin-hyuk reaches there, and asks them what will start soon. They try to avoid him, but he tries to fight them, and one of them asks them to shut up and get lost. On the other hand, Inky asks Seon-ho to go to the other side, where some suspicious people have been following Gangnam recently, and he senses something and checks them out. While Gangnam reaches there, and is shocked to see Inky on his shoulder, and he whispers her to play dumb. So he left saying he was going to the convenience store and would be back later. Meanwhile, Jin fights them, defeating them all, and his path is stronger than them. Seoho got there, and was wondering to see who he should help, and when he saw her, he asked, "Why did he come there?" Suddenly another man comes there in full speed and tries to hit the genie with his car. But Seon-ho ran at full speed and saved her. They ran away from there. Then Seon-ho told him that he had come because Gangnam had invited him there, and Jin-hak was surprised that he was close to him. On the other hand, Gangnam tries to help his parents cook, while they ask him to rest, and then Hanam tries to sit next to him. But Da-hyun rushed and sat in front of him. She then tries to sit on the other side, but Habyul comes and sits in front of her. After a while, Seon-ho and Jin-hak also reached there. Inky looked very excited to see the food. They started this feast. Having dinner in good mood and enjoying it while eating, Habyul asks, did he tell his grandfather, and he replies that he always calls him before sleeping because of his work. On the other hand, Grandpa went to check the things the professor had smuggled in, but it was a trap. He set her up because when she opened a box, there was an explosive bomb in there. Meanwhile, Gangnam calls him, and he accepts his call, but doesn't speak. He calls him repeatedly. But on the other hand, he was present but was seriously injured. She then gathers her strength and asks, did he eat his food? He happily tells her about a neighbor who invited him for dinner and came there with his friends. Grandpa is happy because he has met a lot of good people, and Gangnam tells him that he is so happy that he is allowed to feel this much happiness. Gangnam then asked him to hang up the phone because he was really busy. He is unconscious. He comes there and checks if she is alive. He remembers the time she told him he reminded her of her own son. He thought he was just a dog carrying orders, and now there was no reason to keep him alive. So he called his men and asked them to kill him immediately. He took her to the hospital and stayed there all night without batting an eye, and a man telling her there was no hope for her to recover. Suddenly one of his men appeared there and shouted very loudly. She asked him what happened to him, and the others revealed that they got into a fight with one of the gangs. He hit his head against the wall. He asked them, did Seoho pay attention to them? But they told him it was a different child, and a bit big to be called a kid. The next day, Habyul was running to reach somewhere. Just in time, when he saw Gangnam on the street and going to the shop, he said he could go with him too. While she asks, is he not going somewhere? And he says he is just running for exercise. Da-hyun was playing with the cat. When she saw them approaching her, she left the cat lying on the bench and acting like she was sleeping. So they started playing with the cat. On the other hand, he ordered his men to take him to the rendezvous point and look for opportunities while he was alone. Would they be able to use weapons if things went bad? But he strictly forbade them to use guns. While Seon-ho got there, took them. One of them gets out of the car saying, he has been hunting them for the last 10 years and asks them if the man on the phone is their boss. They try to get out of the car, but he is so fast that they cannot escape. They were trapped in the car, leaving them no choice but to escape. But when they tried to escape, he had put several carriages there. But when they tried to take it, instead, he put the carriage there as well. He then asked them to get out of the car, and their boss asked them to buy as much time as possible. As he was heading there, they got out of the car and started attacking. But Seoho dodged his attacks, while the others ganged up on him. But Seoho twisted his body immediately and hit him. But the other one was too strong, and he thrust his knife into his body. He was weaker than he thought, but Seoho broke free and attacked him back. They promptly dropped him, saying he was recklessly looking for people associated with the project from an early age and meddling with so many organizations that it is a miracle that he is still alive. After some time, finally he also got there, and Seoho asked him, is the professor still working on the project? While he says he cannot deny the truth that he is her father, he says it would be better for him to live a quiet life. Seon-ho asked him, how can he work for the professor like a monster? He remembers when Dark Human attacked him, and he reached the point of suicide. Professor helps him, and asks him to follow his orders. He injects her in the neck and warns her not to meddle any further if she wants to live and forget about Gangnam. On the other hand, Gangnam came back from the shop and chatted with Inky. Suddenly a man passed them, and Inky asked him to run. But in the meantime, he put the needle in his neck and knocked him unconscious. He put them in the car and took them away from there. Meanwhile, when Seoho starts to regain consciousness, no one is there, and a Dark Human emerges from him, asking him to find them for her. The kidnappers put a ring on Gangnam's hand, but he wakes up saying he got a proposal. They again injected her in the neck, but she said they should give her more. To get it, he throws one of them out of the car and he falls on the road and asks his colleagues if they will leave him like that, while they think to take him to the rendezvous point, no matter what awaits. Their boss is there. He asks, where are they going? On the other hand, Ha-byul and Jin-hak find the stuff he bought from the shop. Upon arriving, Legion is waiting for them, and Gangnam says he is expecting the professor there. But as he noticed, he wasn't Gangnam but a dark mortal present inside of him. She asks him what happened to the other people in the car. She turns into green-eyed human and asks if he is planning to kill her with this cute plan. He says he can suppress him because he is just a bunch of dark humans who haven't awakened yet. Suddenly Gangnam moved at high speed, grabbed him by the neck and tried to pull the collar. He fell on the ground and said he was excited, thinking he might become stronger than the others, but he was the same as them. He tried to get up and noticed a car in the distance. He wondered who it was, as no one was there, but he thought of focusing on what was in front of him. She wakes up and tries to fight him again, while Gangnam makes fun of him by saying he has hidden something up his sleeve. This time he ganged up on her and pushed her back with full force, causing her to fall to the ground. He said, "Trap!" He pulled the chain and dropped it somewhere underground. She then tells him that the site is her grave. She can't climb the wall because it's so slippery, while the poison that was there would soon destroy it, regardless of his regeneration speed and the number of Darkmen he had. On the other hand, a man is near grandfather. When he wakes up and talks about where they took Gangnam and that they will kill him soon, Grandpa gets up and bangs his head on the table and asks him about the place where they took him. Legion returned to his car. When he saw someone there and pulled out his gun to check it out, he turned around in surprise. There, who has removed his ring and is now controlled by the Dark Man. He shot her with his gun, and the bullet hit him in the face, but he immediately healed his wounds and headed towards her. He let go of her hand and stabbed her sharp nails in his stomach. But he had put on an iron-plated vest. He then takes out the injection, stabs Seoho in neck and says there are many ways to go beyond Darkman and will shoot him in the head. When he was unconscious, suddenly a car stopped near them, and grandfather appeared from the car and asked him about Gangnam. He told him about the monsters created by the professor's experiment, so he took care of Gangnam before he turned into a beast, while some other Darkmen reach there and try to get him out of jail, but he says he is dead, in a state of shock. When he jumped out of the cell and said he had fast regeneration speed in his imagination. Moreover, he could turn people into puppets which could be his eyes and ears. On the other hand, Jin asked Hyung about Gangnam, but she says she doesn't know about him, and he is not a normal person, but a monster. She takes him to the hospital to show him his injured friends, but the ward was empty, and the man stood there going to the window. They asked him about the boy there. He replied that they had all left. Meanwhile, Legion tells Grandpa that he shouldn't have come there, and that Gangnam is a monster. But he appears there punching him and saying he is the monster. He always finds consistent solace from his disgust. He takes her to the car and pushes the button. A very large bomb explosion occurred. He was going to finish her no matter what. He pointed the gun at her and shot her. But he says he just killed one of them and 700 more dark humans are in his body. Legion said he would still die because he would burn to death, trapped in that body. But Gangnam says his body will change after all the dark humans wake up. He reveals that Gangnam suppressed Kami by sealing his brother's memories, so he will escape from his body by awakening his memories. According to them, all it takes is a glimpse into those memories for them to reappear. A dark, green-eyed human emerges from his body and begs him to wake up and face reality. But Inky appears there and tells him to stop, but it's too late. Back to his past, when he first saw the Legion and left their home. After that, while they were having dinner, he entered their house with a knife. He attacks them, but his father grabs his hand and kills him in front of them. Jin tries to stop him, but he reveals that the professor has no intention of keeping him alive, and he thought of getting rid of his family once he found out he was special, and thought of him as a guinea pig from the start. She stabs him in the neck with an injection and asks him to keep quiet till he gets rid of the others, as the professor wants to experiment on the dark man inside him. After that, he took out a gas pipe and was about to kill Gangnam. He then asked Gangnam to cover his eyes. She starts fighting him and falls on the ground. Suddenly, a large number of dark humans started appearing from his body, and he was shocked, because it was different from what the professor had told him. He fires a bullet from the gun which sets the house on fire, and in the meantime Gangnam gains consciousness and rushes over. His memory now returns. At that time, the dark green-eyed human says he could kill them all for him, but he replies he can't let Gangnam die and doesn't want revenge for his sake. She tells him that she has a special ability to control all dark humans, but it is not limitless. Now the tidal wave of memories took him in great pain, and he started to cry. With the burden of his memory, Grandpa comes to him and asks him to get out of there, but he shouted at Legion, for it was he who killed his whole family. He was the one who turned Seoho's mother into a dark human, and Prof did this long before they realized. Grandfather thought his family died in an accident, but it was all just a ruse to kill his family and turn him into Darkman. He tricked him and used him just like how he got close to Gangnam. But he said it had been 20 years since his family died, and there was no way he would know about them. But he reveals that he knows it by the endless darkness. Fauna's whisper. She also points out that the dark human the professor planted inside of her is basically her son. At that time, he thought everything would change if he did not give in to fear. He fell into despair and killed himself in the fire. Professor gets notification of his death on his cell phone. Dark green-eyed human tries to brainwash him by saying his parents died because of the project, and his brother lived all this time in pain because of his mistake. Inky tries to say something, but he holds himself back. He tells Gangnam that he will kill them all for him and take revenge. But Granny tries to wake him up and ask him to come to his senses, but he turns into Darkman. He tries to remember about his friends and close friends. He reveals that one of his dark humans had entered his body, which is why he survived the explosion, as they helped him heal his wound right away. But it seemed the dark human inside his body had died this time, as he couldn't feel anything, so he would stab her in the stomach with a hand. When he got up and asked him to stop, at that moment he realized that he was not a goat, but his older brother Gangnam. But suddenly a dark man appeared from behind and tore him to pieces. They surround them from all around, and after a while Gangnam regains consciousness and uses his strength to throw them out. The green-eyed dark human was taken aback, seeing how she appeared in his mind. While Gangnam feels no fear from him, Darkman observes that he is in a different league than Gangnam because he can control Darkman with his mental powers. But Gangnam has no weakness and completely obedient. He took out some dark humans and they caught him on their body and put him back in his body. He felt like he was in a dream and didn't feel any sense of reality. Grandpa started to bleed and was short of breath. Before fainting, he smiled at her after saying his last words. Grandfather breathed what seemed to be his last breath, but she neither cried nor smiled. He is someone new. Just like Ganjin and Gangnam, he is also a victim like them, and he wonders what he felt when he raised him for the past 10 years. Also what kind of thoughts Jin's gang had when he watched over him for the past 10 years, and thought he should be sad, now, as all is lost. But he could not shed a tear. The next morning, the teacher entered the classroom and asked about Gangnam, and asked the students if someone could contact him. On the other hand, Seon-ho was also absent. All the students are talking about the fire and the rescuers are still trying to put it out. Jin asked Ha-byul and his friends, "Is he not back yet?" They were all worried about him. As he was not home, though, after a day had passed. Rescuers finally got the fire under control, but one of them got word from the other team that they had encountered something strange. He reveals that it seems like a lot of people are entangled with each other. The night before, Gangnam put black smoke everywhere, and Seon-ho couldn't see anything. He enters the space created by him, and is shocked to know that he succeeded. The green-eyed man begs him to let her go, and that she doesn't have to make such sacrifices. Gangnam tells him that all dark humans want to die because they are tired. Only those who want revenge are left, including Seoho, who asked him to tell him everything about the professor. while he reaches the Legion's secret hideout, and it looks like he's trying to investigate something. But all the files were deleted, so they don't know what it was he left his men. There, saying he is going for an important announcement, he advises them to call him if they find anything, and then he announces that he will continue the Black Man project. Dark green-eyed man tells everything about his past, and Gangnam struggles all his life. He tries to stay positive, but he should take revenge. Suddenly the smoke cleared and they came out of the room. He thought that the professor really wanted to make monsters. A few days passed, but Gangnam didn't come back to school, and Habul asked Yoho, does he know anything about him? But he says he knows nothing. She then went to meet him and asked him, why didn't he come to school? But he said he would find everyone associated with the project and make them pay someday. A project supporter was talking to the professor on the phone, and they were talking about donations and stuff. Gangnam shows up there, he snatches his phone, while Seonho lets his guard down, and Gangnam turns into a dark man and stabs him in the shoulder. Gangnam knows that he has another life left, and this wound will heal quickly, so he stabs his hand. On the other hand, she asks him to give her all names related to the project, or else she will make her life very miserable. After he gave them all the information regarding the green-eyed man, the dark man begged him to shut his mouth and let the project go ahead. They ended all supporters because they would go underground if there was even the slightest problem. After that, he worked like a machine without feelings and emotions and focused on finding investors, while others went about their lives. A year goes by and everyone grows in their way, and he gets news about an investor in the gym. 2 boys fighting on the wrestling field, and one is Jin Hyuk. Now that he's started fighting professionally, when Gangnam enters the room, a coach asks him to put the gloves in the right place. But she threw him on the floor. He got angry at her and asked her name. They all thought he was just a trainee. But Jin came in between and told them that he had entered the academy. She mistakenly then asks him what he does all the time, and they all worry about him. And Gangnam replies that he only does what he should do. He later asked her not to tell anyone at school that she met him, and would come back every once in a while. He is done with what he did. Jinhak agrees and asks her to have dinner with him and wait for him till he takes bath. While she thought he hadn't changed at all in the past year, and had always treated her very well. He waited for the Jinhak when the coach appeared, apologizing for his earlier behavior and offering to be with him. While he is only concerned about how to get the investor's interest, and the dark man also advises him to agree to the offer so he can get some alone time with her. He is an MMA enthusiast and would not let a good fighter go to someone else, so the dark man begged him to accept the sparring offered by the boy next to him. He then took her challenge and asked her to put on headgear and get into the ring. But Gangnam returns his gloves, saying he doesn't need them at all. They reach the fight ring, and Gangnam kicks him. In just one attack, and his condition is getting worse. With that one kick, he notices the investor's reaction and looks very happy and enjoying the situation. While Jinhak worries for him, thinking he has faced 2 incidents of losing his family, and how he holds the sadness inside himself. A boy comes up to him and tells him about the save match with Gangnam, and Jinhak is shocked to know that Gangnam beat him. He looks for him everywhere in the academy. A man tells him he has left, saying there is something he has to do. On the other hand, investors have taken him away. When Jinhak came home and said that he met Gangnam, she is shocked to hear this and screams at him, why didn't he stop her? She tells him that Gangnam will be back soon, and she feels she has missed her life. On the other hand, Gangnam attacks the investor and injures him. Seon-ho brought clothes for both of them. Investors try to threaten them by saying, there are far more people involved in the project than they think. He then tells him that they have found most of them, and at 100 now includes him. They ask him to give information, otherwise they will make things more painful for him, and he shows them an article from 11 years ago. He states that he is famous as a successful businessman, and last year when the professor presented the results of his research, he noticed someone strange, but he wasn't wearing a ring at the time, which means he wasn't using the life he was given. But he used it on someone else. He revealed that Director Park was very close to the professor, and it was he who dragged the brother into this project. Gangnam said they will now dig up Director Park for more information, but Dark Mortal thought he would not recommend that because there is a limit. He can control it, let alone not like the others. Director Park is close to the professor, and he will notice if they attack him and make him disappear. At this time he did not know that he was being controlled. Instead, the professor noticed something odd about how all the investors were so peaceful and didn't show their greed. So he summoned his subordinates to investigate them, as it seemed someone was interfering with their project. He also asked investors to act as if nothing had happened, and when he asked them why, Gangnam said he would find out soon enough. When they returned, she passed a discount snack shop and bought Inky's favorite snack. There he kept wondering why he believed this. He opens the parcel, but there are no chips inside. She finds something like a rice cake. When she turns it over, she is shocked to see it is Inky, but it's very small, and he asks how is he still alive. He throws it on the table and thinks he can be his brother. But the dark man tells him that he is his brother. He reveals that the day his memory returned, his brother was torn to pieces by the dark man and was on the verge of death, and he made one last effort. His choice completely erased his memories to block the further progress of the dark human, and spent an entire year recovering himself, now that he had returned. She had returned to him as an ignorant child, but they disliked her because she bullied them for her sake. Even now they just want to tear him to pieces again. But Gangnam says this won't happen because he will protect her. Seoho, on the other hand, is confused as to whether they should trust Green Eyes, and in a year he can get to the roots of something they can't even come close to at the moment. Most of the investors are under his control, and once they get investor training, they will be able to stop the project. This means that soon the dark humans will have control of the entire project, and what if he wants something other than revenge? At the same time, the professor showed the person a picture of an investor who had recently complained about the project, meaning he was the most unsuspecting one. He advises her to stay by his side and see every change, as she is sure something is up. The next day, he called the investor and told him that he had come there to protect him, as if something was going to happen. In the morning when Gangnam was sleeping, Inky came to him and said he was hungry, so he got up to make breakfast. She makes a nice breakfast for him, and he compliments her for being good at cooking. But he told him that he was not good, but a dark man. After eating his entire meal, she asks him to make dessert, and Gangnam wonders what if he eats more. Then on the other hand, he thought that if he waited for Gangnam, investors would spiral out of control. So he decided to go after him himself. While walking through the street, he hit the man and grabbed his back. She asks why he followed them, and Seoho wonders where did he pop out. He looked at Seonho's ring and confirmed that he has a dark human. He takes out a dagger and asks, "Is he also the dog the professor made?" Seoho realized that he was much stronger than her and couldn't fight her alone. He threw a dagger at him which hit him straight in the eye. Seoho thought he was crazy. When he swung his knife at a place like this, he turned into a dark human and healed himself. He was quite surprised to see her healing ability revealed, that he is also a dark red-eyed human, and he thinks that all red-eyed people are dead. So, where did he appear from? The professor doesn't know about him either. They start fighting, and Seoho sticks the same knife in his chest. She threw at him just a moment ago, but she also had healing abilities and healed her wounds right away. While Gangnam also reached there, and Red Eyes tried to run from there before more people gathered there. But Gangnam kicked him in the face and fell on the ground, and realized that there was another dark human. Gangnam asked Seonho, who was he about, because he didn't mention it in the file he sent him. The Green Eyes told him that he was one of the mercenaries working under the professor. She rushes at him and stabs a knife in his chest. He tries to escape from there, while Seonho chased him, but he was too fast, so he lost him on the street. He then asks Gangnam what to do because now the professor might find out about them, and he tells him to relax. It was as if he knew about them, but it would take time to find them. Green Eyes tell them that he has got investors while they are fighting, and he will show up again soon if he sticks around. On the investors' side, the red-eyed human calls the professor and tells him that one of them is wearing a ring, and the other is not. After that, he collected some information about Seoho, but there is little information about him and no trace of his biological parents' appearance. It was as if someone had erased all traces of it. But he finds something fishy, that he too is the survivor from the incident a year ago. He remembered that several students and an old man were in critical condition as well. That incident happened on the same day that Lee Chan died, so there is a possibility that the monster that started the fire with Seoho might have killed him. He has many questions. So the next day he got to school to ask her face to face. He is trying to enter the school when a genie appears there and says he cannot trespass on campus, while she tells him the reason she came there is to see her friend who is a teacher there. Jin asked the teacher's name, and Bloodshot Eyes did not expect that he would be asked that question, while Seon-ho reached there and asked her to go with him. Jin noticed him hiding the knife in his sleeve. He took it to an abandoned place and asked him how he found it. She sees her uniform in her bag and starts by searching her school. She states that she has come there as she doesn't want to waste her time and asks him to tell her everything about her. He started threatening her by saying he would make a sea of blood coming from the people around him. He had lost one of his friends because he thought Gangnam was an ordinary boy. When he was leaving, the genie asked him about the man who had recently come to see him, but she was very worried and told him nothing. After school, he called Gangnam and asked if he had any information about him, but he told him that he had completely disappeared. Seon-ho told him about his arrival at school and that he threatened him about his friends. She's scared now. He requests that she go back to school. Don't do this alone, because next time he comes, he won't be able to call her in time. The next day, Inky asks her why she woke up so early, and she replies that they are going to school. Inky is very excited about his first day at school and asks the dark human, "What do students do at school?" She tells him that is the place where they teach students the most effective way to kill someone. He reached school and showed the teacher some documents saying he had gone to another school, so they put him in 11th grade instead of 10th grade, maintained it in grade 11. After that, when he entered class, he saw Habyul and sat beside him. But he thought he was Seon-ho, so he didn't turn his head. She tries to call him, and he angrily turns around, but is shocked to see the person before him. He wakes up and asks, what was he doing there? While Hanam and Dahyun hear some students talking about him, who say he has returned. Everyone rushed to his class, gathered around him and asked him where he had been all this time. He observes that nothing has changed at school. Everything is exactly as he remembers, and last year seems like a bad dream. Everyone noticed something different about him, and whenever they asked him about where he was, he didn't have a good answer for them later. He pressed Seon-ho, what do Red Eyes want? And he told him. She wanted him to give up and tell her about his identity. Meanwhile, Hanam comes there and brings some snacks for her as welcome gift. He says thank you. Seon-ho asked him to give her at least a fake smile, but he has someone else who can smile for him. But Hanam was scared by his smile. After that, he met up with Dahyun, and she revealed that she still feels the same way about him as in her childhood, and asked her about her feelings. He liked her from the moment he showed that he understood her scar, and he felt his heart moved when he saw her again. But she wonders, would she like him if he told her the truth about her? He did not give any answer and left the place. While Dahyun was silent, his family kept moving around because of his father's job, and he was always friendless and alone. Then he saw a boy who was always alone like him. But it doesn't seem like he's always smiling. She wants to know more about him. In one day, he decided to sit in the place where he always came, and soon he came there, but afraid to feel other people there, he later learned about his pain. The more she learns about him, the more she likes him. When he left Korea, he thought they would meet again one day. But they met in an accident, when a truck driver fell asleep and hit them. He lost his father and mother. He cannot walk anymore. He thinks about what Gangnam will do in this situation, since he is facing the same condition as him. So he, too, decided to stay strong like him. After several years, they found luck when they returned to Korea, as the man who used to work with his father helping his mother walk again, and she met him again today. She didn't want to lose him again, so she decided to talk to him. He called Seon-ho and told him that he had found a red eye and asked him to come there immediately. When he is on his way to the other side, the investor is still under control of the green eye and asks the red eye, where has he disappeared, leaving him? But he finds something odd, that investors are trying to keep him there. Moments later, she tells him that they have guests there, and she's surprised to see Gangnam, as he should be dead. He turns into a dark human and ready to attack him. While she wonders who this kid is, he turned into the mercenary she killed years ago and now wants to take revenge on him. He then grabs her by the neck and says she believes him. But she was a disappointment then, and disappointment is now a thing of the past. When she tells him she broke their code because they came here to fight, not slaughter people. Also that they were mercenaries, not monsters. He felt so humiliated at the time that he gave their information to the enemy and told them about their hideout. They were all captured and killed. Only he is the survivor, and this time again, she attacks him saying he is stronger than her. Perhaps breaking his ribs with this, he wonders how he can surpass a ringless dark man, as he can be torn to pieces, and takes out his knife and stabs it into his leg. Gangnam took out another dark man and told him that he was not alone. They all headed towards him and attacked him together. Knowing this, he angrily slammed the door and said he would find and kill him. The next day, Green Eye tells Red Eye that he shouldn't have killed her, and now they have put themselves in danger. They are about to move. They both start arguing and are about to punch each other. When Inky asks them to stop fighting, but Red Eyes pushes him back and tells him not to interfere and says he prefers her before losing his memory. Inky calls them for help. While discussing the matter, Gangnam asked him to stay together as much as possible. On the other hand, Professor reaches the red-eyed secret hideout and his person informs him about the boy. Upon investigation, he was shocked to learn that he was still alive. He lost a man in wildfire a year ago, and he just lost another. It means Seoho is getting closer to her, but something mysterious is happening. Old man died among the victims of wildfire. Because he should have died in his trap, he is sure that the two of them are trying to hide something from him, and one of the secrets is Seoho's existence. But there was something he didn't know yet. He ordered one of his men to investigate. They tried to cross-check the activities of the last 10 years. After that, he looked for Grandpa, but thought they should chase Seoho, and not looking for information about an old man. Then he saw a Habyul image there, which was the target of Red Eyes. The next day, he is absent from school, and Seon-ho is surprised by his absence, because he never misses school. He suddenly remembered what the bloodshot eye had told him earlier, that he would make a sea of blood gush out of the people around him, and rushed out of the classroom. Gangnam got up from his seat and followed him, giving the excuse that his stomach hurt a lot and left the course. When Seoho came out, he came to the class from the side and he was relieved that he was fine and he gave an excuse for being late. He says he overslept. He left it there. Gangnam asked, "Is he okay?" She said she was worried. They were back to class when the professor entered the school and rushed towards Yoho. She cries and calls him her son. Seon-ho blinked in confusion. Back to the past, when Mother told her that her father was a good man and he did everything for her, and she always thought his father was a good man who she loved and always put him first. But it turned out that his father looked at him the way one would look at a lab rat. When he turned his mother into a dark human, he asked her to escape from there. He tries to run away from there but is soon caught by him, and then all that happened. But today, when he was again in front of him, Gangnam started to wonder if he could control his anger. The dark man inside him is raging and they want to tear him apart, and Seoho is also trying to control himself. He asks why he is not coming home, or if he is afraid he will end up like Mother. He wanted to tear it to pieces. When the dark green-eyed man ties his hands and tells him to control himself as the professor is just trying to test him, he then notices Gangnam with him. Thinks he is just an ordinary person and says he is happy to see him living an everyday life with common friends. He then leaves her saying that he will be right back and have lunch with her. He felt proud to see his son like that. When he leaves, all the students gather there and are shocked to see him. Dayun came there and asked him what happened, and Seoho thought he was coming for her, but he went to Gangnam. She asks if he is hurt. After that, he was in his class and thought about the professor, that he knew. He put himself in danger by coming there, but he must have something in mind. Green Eyes told him that he underestimated his opponent, because he didn't know about them. But he's worried about Seoho because he's the only one in real danger right now. He then asked, "Are you going to go with him to eat fried rice cakes after school?" While Hanam appears there and says, he will also go with them. After school, they went to a restaurant, and Seon-ho asked him if he was dating Dahyun. He replied that they probably were. She reveals that she told him she liked him, and he said that she liked him too. Seoho is sad because he likes her too. They talk to each other, and Hanam goes to the chef, and he gives her a special sauce. She takes the sauce and puts it in their food, but when they eat the food, their condition gets worse because it's too spicy. Inky screamed for help, and Gangnam held him down and threw him into the milk. On the other hand, Jinhak goes to Guru and tells him that he can't continue his volunteer work because he has an important fight. Meanwhile, Habyul went to gym but no one was there. He thought they all went for dinner and suddenly decided to exercise alone. Two men appear there, and he wonders how they entered the gym because he locked the room. Turns out they were sent by the director, and he gave them a lot of money and asked them to give him a little fright, but he dodged their attacks and hit them back. He spun his body kicking one of them and knocking him out. While others are scared, she tries to attack him, but he kicks her and throws her bat, which scares her and she runs away. But she runs away, after which he jumps her down and asks them what they want from her. One of them runs away, but the other says he was having fun and asks him to hit him again. She is shocked. Why is he telling her this? After some time, Jinhook reached there with one guy, and they were shocked to see Habyul had been dropped by him. Jin grabbed the swing and threw it to the floor. She angrily restrained him, throwing him into the distance. He then started kicking her repeatedly until she begged him to stop and forgive her. After that, the police took him, and they found a picture of Ha-byul in his pocket, which means they targeted him on purpose. Jin told his trainer that he would find them whoever they were and would kill them with his own hands. As he tries to tell her that this may harm his career, soon he finds his other partner, but the ringleader is also present there, and asks if he is Ha-byul's brother. While another man asks why he is following them, as they have completed everything he remembers in the police station. When Ha-byul told him that he couldn't go to school because he felt insecure, because they knew everything about him. So now he comes there with killing intent, and one of them tries to run from there, but Jin-hook catches him and knocks him down on the ground, then holds his head and is about to crush him on the floor. When the leader called him and said his life will end. When she kills him because they won't let criminals become professional athletes. Jin-hock doesn't listen to him and smashes his head on the floor. Others come to him and say he is innocent and nothing to do with it, but Jin remembers. He saw him outside gym running, so he kicked him, followed him on ground, and brought him down too. She then asks him, is he behind all this? She then grabbed him by the neck, asking why he was after his sister, and again kicked him and knocked him to the ground. He then brought out his dark human and challenged him to win against two of them, while his stamina and strength were all doubled. He starts beating him and says he can hear his bones breaking for this match, but to kill him, he gets up and tries to attack him again. But this time, the genie dodged his attack and tried to take him down, but he couldn't move his hands. He used his feet to make him fall down. After that, he caught her by the neck and thought that if she killed him now, her dream would be futile, but if she let him live, his family could never be safe. So he decided in a moment and would kill her. When Gangnam got there on time and pushed, he came back with green eyes controlling his thoughts, and he asked him, what was he doing there? And he said he did nothing to earn all of this. He becomes unconscious, and when he wakes up he finds himself in the hospital and his trainer sitting beside him. He told her that he had come there alone with broken hands, and that the police arrested the two men he had beaten. They say everything they have done. Meanwhile his family reaches there, and they all worry about him. While Ha-byul is disappointed thinking about all this. He felt this was his fault, as she pushed him to do this. Outside, Gangnam listens to all their conversation and Inky asks, does he take it well? The green-eyed sister tells him that they have got all the investors except the one with the most information about the professor, and they will go to Mr. Park's house tomorrow, because it's time to end all this. Meanwhile, on the other hand, Mr. Park has married Da-hyun's mother, who live in the same place. Gangnam knew that those green eyes were pretending to be by his side, but he was waiting for them to break. But he decided that this would not happen. The next day he goes to Mr. Park's house and he recognizes him as the body that saved him from the river. He asks if he is Da-hyun's friend. She introduces him as her best friend. Afterwards, when they have dinner, Mr. Park says he doesn't like his friend Gangnam and asks him to stop hanging out with him at night. Her mother asks her why she said such things to him, as she is happy with him, while she says she wants something better for him. His mother holds his hand and has his mortal ring, the same ring on her hand. After some time, Professor calls him and tells him, the green eye is still alive. He is the body of a dark mortal machine that absorbed all the energy of the dark mortals who fled 11 years ago and hid in one of the victims' bodies after a fire. He also told her about Gangnam and called him because he trusted him. Suddenly the door opens and he comes in there. He then holds her hand and drags her behind. She then asks why is she living with his family and if Da-hyun's mother is also involved in all this. He says he knows nothing about anything. He asks why she is wearing ring and why she let it be. He reveals that it all started with his father. Mr. Lee conducted a study, and it has been more than 20 years since Professor Lee researched ways to save lives, and he and Professor Jang collaborated on all the research. He was one of the original investors, but he took his research in a different direction. It is the place where the story of the Dark Man begins. One day he comes to Professor Yang and tells him that he can't fix the side effects of his medication and is reaching the limits of his knowledge, so he asks for his help. The professor agrees to help him. Lee gives him the greatest investor card in his research and tells him he's getting engaged. After marriage, they invite to dinner, have a friendly meeting there, and hope about their research at that time. The atmosphere became awkward, but remained silent because he, after some time, Professor Jang took his research in the wrong direction. Now the research is not to save lives, but to treat Mr. Park. He asks why she is experimenting on people, but she shuts her mouth saying she will give him money. After that, they teamed up and made hundreds of dark humans out of living things. After some time, he organized events for investors and told them about his discovery. While distancing Mr. Lee, and when he asks about the reason, he makes a lame excuse and says, "Nothing has changed, that was when he met Gangnam." Had she never seen him do the professor's experiments with her? Then all the dark men disappeared when he didn't. Is there anything he tried on his son Seon-ho? He thought he had died. One day Mr. Lee came to him and asked, "Why did they lose all their investors?" She cries in front of him, saying she has lost her son. But actually he was sad because of his dark man and thought he could earn more one day. Mr. Lee comes to meet him in the lab and reaches the underground laboratory. In the basement, he never knew they had another lab. Professor Yang is there waiting for him and incinerates the dark human. Mr. Lee asks him what he is doing, and he reveals to him all the activities he does and how he kills many people. She screams at him and declares he is closing this project right now. But he asked who would be responsible for the hundreds of souls who died. She offers to join hands with him, or it will all be over, but Mr. Lee rushes home and asks his wife to pack everything up. As they left the country, he told her to take Da-hyun and go first. He will catch up with them. After doing something important, he asks why, but he said nothing. Professor Jang instead tells Mr. Park that he has revealed everything to Lee and asked him to take his place and marry his wife. Mr. Lee had an accident with his wife and daughter, and Mr. Park asked him why is he targeting him when their target is only Mr. Lee. After that, he went to the hospital and was relieved to see him alive. They turned Mr. Lee into dark human and told him that everyone thought he was dead, and that he didn't know his wife would be in that car with him, but if they took care of her soon, he would leave her there, and at that point, he would have no one to depend on. He told her about the method of treatment. She then used the dark human. Mr. Lee treated him, and he made a full recovery, and now he states that he doesn't want things to go on like this. Started to cry. Gangnam asked him why he was crying. At that time, with green eyes, felt emotion in Gangnam and was about to control his mind again, but Inky interrupted and forbade him. Suddenly his wife reached there. Hear all their conversations, while Mr. Park tries to chase him again and starts apologizing. He took from his ring, and a dark human appeared from his body. He cut his leg with his strong hand and started crawling in front of him. He apologizes to her as she cannot stay with him all the time. But carrying great pain, he disappeared from there, and after that Gangnam took Mr. Hark with him, and he remained alone. Just then, Dahan came and asked what he was doing there. The next day he comes to school, and Gangnam realizes he doesn't know anything. Yet he wondered if his mother had decided to hide it all from him. Like how Jin hid the truth from him. At first she didn't understand why her brother erased her memories and took the burden of the past on herself, but she now knew she wanted to see her smile and be happy in her free time. She told him that she would go home first because her mother wasn't feeling well, and she was worried about her. She asked him to get something better to eat when things get better. The rest decide to go home together. It's been a long time since they've been together like this. And on the way, Nam and Ha-byul got separated because their routes were different. Gangnam says he wants to thank him and his family for always staying with him and helping him in everything, and nothing bad will happen to them, because he will end all of this. She asks him, how did he know about all this, and if he is somehow involved, but he tries to leave her there saying she will be right back. But he holds her hand and asks her to go to police. But he let go of his hand and went to the other side. Seoho visited Jin in the hospital, and he said he thought all of this was related to her because all the strange men always seemed to be following her. But now that he thinks about it, and Nam might be involved in this, he asks her if she knows anything about him. She states that they both had bad things happen to them in their lives. It's all because of the same person. But they were about to end it, and she promised him that nothing of the kind would happen. Gangnam tortures Park, and they get information that Professor Jang will report his findings to investors in a private presentation. The professor wonders why every investor accepts his request to attend the presentation, as they rejected it before, and thinks something has to be better, and thinks to be prepared for this. The day of the presentation has arrived, and Gangnam says he wants to ask something from the green eyes about who he is and why he wants revenge. And more importantly, how did he become a dark human? He reveals that he is a vagabond with no home and no family. He visits small towns and puts on masquerade shows. Once he sees another city just like any other. When he meets Professor Jang, the village leader comes to them and introduces him as a great person, and when they leave, He decides to stay there for some time. She has tons of masks in her bag and always wears new masks for her outings. The first mask he made was just a piece of tree bark with 2 holes. But he had to hide his face because people called him a monster. But no matter how much he hid his face, nothing changed. One day he killed a person who caused him great pain. The police caught him and took him to a mental hospital. But one day he escapes from the hospital and sets out to collect more masks. He went around conducting person-to-person meetings and growing his collection of shows. In one day he saw that everyone in the village had disappeared. He decides to stay. At that moment he realizes that the place is the refuge made by Professor Jang. The show is over and the theater is no more. He finds the place where Professor Jang turned all the villagers into dark men. At that point he thought it would help him understand why he had been abandoned. While the professor reached there and asked him, how did he get in there and how did he find this place? He replied that the site was his home, and then he deliberately turned himself into a dark human. Now he tells Gangnam that he uses his powers on him because he looks unstable and he controls his emotions. Because he wanted him to finish the job they set him out to do. The presentation starts, and everyone reaches there, including Gangnam, who is hiding with the mask. He started the presentation by saying that when he saw it all, they wanted a presentation. He thought they would all get together without him because it was impossible for the 100 people who agreed to keep their identities secret. Decided on the same thought, he asked them why every investor was present there. He again asked them, did he know about the student named Gangnam? Because he had heard about him, suddenly Gangnam got up and said they won't answer since they are spectators. In their game and the only dialogue is between him and the professor. She is happy to see him there, as she wants to meet him. But now he comes there himself, and asks if she wants to kill him. But Gangnam says if he wanted to kill him, then he would have died long ago. But he has come there to wipe the Dark Mortal project off the face of the earth once and for all. The professor laughs at him and asks him, how is he going to do this alone? Suddenly some bodyguards appear there, and he announces that he will start the presentation. He states that he tried for years, but could never get more than 1 dark human in a person's body. So he changed his mind and broke away to create the perfect army of guard dogs. Instead, he spoke with green eyes, that he knew that he was alive in Gangnam's body, and he had no idea how happy he was to see that he was alive. Once he brought it out, they would continue their experiments. The professor's soldiers rush to attack him, and he realizes something is wrong with them, as he has experimented with them and turned them into attack dogs. One jumped really fast and punched him in the stomach before he could react, and the other was rushing towards him. They hit him in the stomach again and made him fall to the ground. Green Eyes come out and tells him to knock them out one by one until they start to lose heart, and then he will do his magic. But they don't seem to want to give up. Sticking to the plan, he rushed at full speed and knocked one of them out. While the professor was shocked at his speed, he then hit his head on the floor and punched another and sent him flying. In the same way, he beat them all and knocked them down. The professor is in a state of shock seeing the failure of his plan. He realizes that he doesn't like him because he not only restrained the dark humans, but used all their power. He tells him that his dog has the dark humans, and it's not over just because he killed them once. But Gangnam says he didn't kill them all, but took out their rings by taking their summons. He saved their life. Suddenly he realized that all the investors were still there, and there was no movement in them. Gangnam tells him that they are just his puppets now and will listen to him. He would wake up all their dark men and ask them to take off their rings together. He asked if he had ever considered how much suffering these people were going through. They all let go of their calls and turned into dark men, while Green Eyes gripped his neck and said, he will make her feel their pain. He said he would come back to life if he somehow did, and this hell would not end until they were all gone. He would make her remember everyone's pain and suffer one by one. The professor frees himself and says he is God and immortal and can be more than God. He tries to run away from there, but Park grabs his leg and makes him fall and asks him to take him with him, because he was seriously injured. But she left him there and ran away. But when he reached the stairs, many dark humans came towards him. He also escapes from there and gets to the roof, but there is no way to escape, and Gangnam reaches behind him. He took out his gun and shot himself, and his dark man died. Meanwhile, Green Iron reaches there and asks him to accept his destiny as everything is over now. She shows him the result of many years, looking at everything with disdain too, He has lived too long treating people and their lives as disposable toys. Suddenly he calls someone and asks how long he will hide, as they need him to start the last phase of their plan. Inky appears there with green eyes asking, "Is he ready?" Nam asks, "What did he prepare?" He reveals that Inky will release all dark men in his body, and in the process, he will be torn to pieces. He asks why is she doing this, as this was not part of the plan. But she tells him that it was not she who held him but her brother. He reveals that his powers are gone because he has recovered his emotions, and Gangnam has been holding him back because he wants revenge on her. She asks if his memory is back and why he always keeps her in the dark. There is a place in this universe that is called the darkest and most terrible place, called the 9 Hells, a place that is also referred to as a place of eternal violence. The 9 Hells is a terrible hell, home to the strongest demons from all over the universe. Because of that, this place became an arena for battles between demons to occur non-stop. The fight to become the eternal ruler, and also to be the strongest. This fight was waged by demons for millions of years. Then it was as if a fight over there was being waged between 2 powerful demons for the throne over there. The force of the demon's punch was even capable of sending the ground there into pieces. But what happened? The demon that was hit by the attack was still able to revive. He was named Gargus, who had the title of Great Demon. As for the other demon, he is named Balak, who also has the title of a great demon. He began to move to attack very quickly. Clashes occurred again. Gargus attacked Balak with his skills, but Balak was able to dodge the attack. He then arrived in front of his enemy, then delivered a very powerful punch. Did not stop there. He then flew quickly towards the Gargus. He flew past his opponent and landed there. When he tried to dodge, Gargus was already above him. He was ready to strike again, and boom! How powerful the attack of the devil Balak. But the fight didn't end just like that. The little devils then came and ganged up on the logs. There they quickly caught the demon of Balak, which made the demon unable to move. When the demon Balak's movements are locked, that's where Gargus then appears and prepares to attack him. As a result of attack after attack, the 9 Hells were torn apart by their fight. Gargus looked surprised. The powerful attack was not able to end their fight. The demon of Balak has risen again and is ready to fight. He said playtime is over. He then moved to attack Garga. He arrived in front of the opponent with full power. The demon of Balak throws a powerful magma punch. That attack is even capable of piercing a hole in the body of the demon Gargus, who has a gigantic body. He then continued his attack. He said, "The strongest devil here is me," he said. Instantly, demon Gargus's body was destroyed by the attack from Balak. With the results of this battle for a while, the one who becomes the ruler in 9 Hells is the devil Balak. He is the strongest demon there. In that hell of endless fighting, everyone thought there would never be a demon that reigns forever there. But all that changed when someone appeared there. It is he who is now given the title of Lord of the Demon, or the King of all the demons there. Even the demon Balak, who was shown to be very strong and ferocious, submitted to the Demon King. How could it not be? The Demon King has a skill that can absorb a demon's body and power just by touching it. That power was even able to defeat the 7 rulers in hell. Even though so far the 7 demon rulers have not been able to beat each other, that is what makes all the demons in hell submissive to the king. However, at this time the king was angry. Even the powerful demons that were there felt panic and fear. It is known that the king is not a native of hell. He currently wanted to return to his original residence, whereas in hell the king has everything. It turned out that Lord Demon who was there was a human named O Kang-woo. The demons try to block the king's desire to stay there as a form of their loyalty to the king. They are willing to offer everything that is. For the king he respected, Balak offered the best food there. But Kang-woo instead threw it because Kang-woo is human. How could he like the food being eaten by the current demons? Kang-woo the Demon King is angry and he wants to eat his favorite food on earth, which is a food called kimchi. The demons then said that they would make kimchi for the king, but there all that is available is demon flesh. Friend, of course the food is different from what Kang-woo should eat. He had been trapped in that hell for 10,000 old years, eating demons, fighting demons, and absorbing demon skills. All the strongest demons there have been defeated by him. Now all he wanted was to return to Earth. He has struggled for a long time to return to Earth. By finding a way that can send him back, that is the reward of suffering for 10,000 years in hell. Namely, to prepare a tool that can send it back to Earth. Balak, who loved his king, did not want the king to leave them. However, he could not refuse an order from the demon lord, because if he refused the request, the demon lord might kill him. Balak then started preparing for the king's departure to return to Earth. The demon Aemon then performed the ritual for Kangwoo's departure. The tool to return to Earth is ready. There Kangwoo then walked towards the tool. To use the tool requires a lot of demonic energy, and currently Kangwoo already has that energy. With enough demonic energy, the device can forcefully open a dimensional portal. Good, let's get started, he said, and he started to focus on harnessing his demonic energy. The energy is then released, and the journey home begins. Kangwoo jumped into the open portal. There I can finally go home, said Kangwoo. Seeing his loyal followers sad, Kangwoo even said that he didn't want to go back to that hell anymore. Suddenly the system in the portal went into error. Even his return to Earth was threatened with failure. The Demon King then fell unconscious. When he began to realize, now he was somewhere. The place was filled with greenery and he wondered, was this Earth? Kangwoo then opened his status window and looked at his current body's resistance. Kangwoo is an awakener who has just reached level 1. Even the powers and skills he mastered while in 9 hells are sealed. It seemed that he had to increase his level while in a new place. Surprisingly, goblin monsters appeared and attacked Kangwoo. How surprised he was, because there should be no monsters or demons on Earth. Seeing the danger, Kangwoo then prepared to attack them with his demonic energy. But apparently, his strength disappeared. Apparently in that place, his demon energy began to weaken. However, it didn't matter to him. He attacked using his body. Apparently from his arm appeared some kind of sharp object that was very terrible. That was as if one of the demon abilities he absorbed while in the 9 hells. In the end, Kangwoo managed to defeat all the goblin monsters that came to attack him. The system then appeared and informed Kangwoo that he had reached level 4. Kangwoo was confused why there could be monsters there. He also used his demon skills to find out information about the monsters. How surprised Kangwoo was, he felt the demon's energy in that place. Whereas that demonic energy should only exist in the underworld of the 9 hells. He thought that place was not Earth. Even all this time he was able to survive in hell because he was sure that one day he would return to Earth. But this time Kangwoo heard the screams of a human. At that place with demon speed, Kangwoo looked for the source of the sound. Arriving at the place, it turns out that there is indeed a woman who is currently surrounded by goblin monsters. Kangwoo, who had not seen humans for a long time, of course, felt something very extraordinary. When the goblin monsters were ready to attack the woman, Kangwoo appeared in front of her and beat the goblin monsters. In the end, all goblin monsters have been defeated by him in just an instant. The woman thanked Kangwoo for his help. Kangwoo felt nervous because he was seeing humans for the first time after a very long time and immediately met a woman. Then he gave first aid to the wound on the woman's leg. "It seems that this is the Earth," said Kangwoo in his heart. Kangwoo returned the woman's cell phone and saw the year on the neck of the cell phone showing the year 2023. It turned out that only 5 years had passed on Earth since he was sent to hell. During these 5 years, maybe something has happened on Earth, and he has to find out information about life on Earth from the woman he has helped. The two of them had arrived in front of the portal leading to the place of return. They also came out of the place called the dungeon. Kangwoo saw that there were lots of people in that place. He was increasingly convinced that he was now back on Earth. The woman who was saved by him then invited Kangwoo to her house and invited him to eat together as a thank you for saving his life. 2 policemen then came to them and asked for their player cards. Kangwoo used a demon skill to avoid being examined and just let him pass. They both arrived at the woman's house. The woman's name is Seola. He lives in an apartment that looks old, but still decent to live in. He lives there with his mother. After telling that the man behind him had saved him during a raid in the dungeon, of course, the mother was very grateful to Kangwoo. He then borrowed the school's smartphone to find out information about Earth for the past 5 years. He also finds news that in 2018, a disaster occurred and changed the world. Unknown monsters suddenly appeared, along with mysterious portals. Its military power and weaponry are rendered useless by monsters until humans with special powers appear on Earth. They are referred to as players, or called hunters. 2018, February 22nd to be precise, that day is the same day that Kang-woo was also sent to Hell. It's possible that Kang-woo entered that hell from a portal that appeared on Earth in the past. As if the mother had prepared food and it turned out that the food was Kang-woo's favorite food. The food was called kimchi jjigae, which is Korean food, in the form of a spicy soup and contains very delicious meat. Of course, Kang-woo ate the food with gusto. While they were enjoying the food, suddenly someone appeared there. The person opened the door so hard it crushed it. The man came to meet Seol-ah. That guy's name is Taehyung. He was angry because it was as if he had gone into the dungeon alone, as if seeing his older brother coming roughly. He then kicked him out and asked him to leave the house, as if even warning her brother not to mess with her and her mother. Taehyun, who was very angry, then hit the wall of the house and threatened them back. There, Taehyun then pulled his sister. He wanted to join the Andreas Guild, but after flatly refusing and biting his brother's hand, he instead threw his sister there, getting angry and inviting as if to fight as a fellow hunter. His mother then tried to calm his older brother by saying that his mother would try so that his family could live comfortably. But what happened? He even beat his mother to fall. As if seeing his brother like that, of course he was very upset. Taehyun blamed his mother for not being able to provide a decent life for him. Taehyun wanted to be in the Andreas Guild. Because his sister's beauty would get him a high party, he could collect as much money as possible. Taehyun then saw Kang-woo, who was busy eating there. He just realized that there was someone else in that place. He then kicked the dining table along with the food that was being enjoyed by Kang-woo, so that all the food that was on the table was spilled. Kang-woo immediately showed his anger. "You spilled my favorite food," he said with a very scary look. Seeing a terrible aura emerging from Kang-woo, Taehyun began to worry about the current situation. He then took out his skill and was ready to beat Kang-woo. There saw his brother going to attack Kang-woo, as if shooting his magic arrow at Taehyun and asking Kang-woo to run away from there. Instead of moving away from that place, Kang-woo even moved to attack Taehyung. There, Taehyun then tried to hit him, but Kang-woo moves quickly, which can't even be read by Taehyun. A kick was given by Kang-woo and hit the stomach, but Taehyun still managed to survive and tried to reply with his punches. But again, Kang-woo kicked him first. The kick was very strong and made Taehyun bleed. But Taehyun is also not easy to beat. He could still stand there and hold Kang-woo's leg. Kang-woo continued his attack. He hit Taehyun's face and made bruises on the man's face. Taehyun, who was getting angry, he tried to attack Kang-woo. But what happened? Another punch landed on his stomach until finally Taehyun had fallen to the floor. Kang-woo stepped on the man's head. He was very angry because Taehyun had spilled his food. In the end, Taehyun begged for his life to be spared, and he promised not to underestimate Kimchi's food again. Kang-woo was very annoyed because the man had also insulted his favorite food. Never again do you insult this food. After being beaten by Kang-woo, the man then cleaned up the kitchen and washed the dishes he had made a mess of earlier. Kang-woo lectured him to be grateful for his current life, because when compared to the suffering in hell, everything that was experienced by him was nothing. Kang-woo said. Kang-woo then used the command skill Absolute, a demon skill that he mastered while in 9 hells. With that skill, he is able to give extraordinary fear to his target and turn them into his slaves. Kang-woo then ordered him to leave immediately. Seeing his disobedient brother go made him feel at peace. Again, Kang-woo save him, he said. Kang-woo then looked for information to get money. Kang-woo found information about magic stones that could be sold and made money. Magic stones can be obtained from monsters killed while in Donegun. Because of her family's difficult condition, that's the reason why Seola goes to that dangerous dungeon to look for magic stones. Kang-woo's main focus right now was increasing his level and returning his full power that was being sealed. He plans to go to the Player Association office to officially become an awakened and qualify to enter and at will. Kang-woo, and as if leaving for the Hunter Association office, they had arrived in the city. What a view of a luxurious building. They see their and as if parting ways in front of the association building will undergo a registration test as a player, while as if going to register basic lessons for a hunter first. Inside the building, there were lots of hunters who were gathering and taking care of their needs. Kang Woo's identity was identified by the machine, and he was asked to move to the test room with his Q number. Kang Woo arrived at the player test room. There the hunters will be ranked according to the results of the tests that will be given to each player. With all his strength, he would soon meet the largest guild in his country, if he ended up having his test in that room. It turns out that the test there is carried out by holding a magic crystal ball. The darker the color of the crystal after holding it, the stronger the strength of the person holding it can be seen. After holding the crystal, Kang Woo was then given an F rank, the lowest rank in the hunter system. Of course, it surprised Kang Woo. He also realized that his current strength was still sealed within him, because the ranking was still low. If Kang Woo wants to enter a high dungeon, then he must make a party with a hunter who is ranked above him. Kang Woo wished that Balak heard this. Of course, he was very angry, because the Demon King did not need protection from anyone to increase his rank. Kang Woo can follow basic lessons first. But there was also another way. He could hand over a certain amount of magic stones to the Hunter Association office. Kang Woo then moved away from there. He didn't even want to accept his hunter rank card. After Kang Woo left, suddenly the crystal ball turned dark. It didn't stop there. In fact, the crystal broke and shocked the testing team. He thought the crystal was constantly broken, because Kang Hyun, who was ranked S, the color of the crystal turned gray. But it's impossible for a new F-rank player to be able to make the crystal black and even make it shatter. In front of the portal gate leading to the dungeon, there were many groups of people there, looking for players or hunters who had the qualifications according to their team's needs. Kang Woo then verified himself and was allowed to enter by the guards there. He then went inside, as if a low portal gate was there. As he had just arrived inside the Dunagan, someone then appeared behind him. The man invited Kang Woo to join his team. He said that a beginner seemed better off joining a party with other hunters so that his safety was guaranteed. His friends then said that they didn't want Kang Woo to join them because a rookie hunter was definitely useless in the team, they said. But the man who is the leader of the team forces them to accept only one person because it concerns human life. Kang Woo then became acquainted with the man named Taeso. Kang Woo then explained that he didn't want to join any team and preferred to be alone. While in the time zone, Taeso did not force the offer. He only told Kang Woo to be careful when he was there, because inside there was a boss monster that was different from Goblin. Usually, even Taeso said that if Kang Woo met the monster, then immediately run away from him, he said to Kang Woo. Of course, Kang Woo responded well to Taeso's concern. She thanked him for the suggestion. Kang Woo then continued his journey. He was ready with all the possibilities that would be faced while carrying out the mission there. Kang Woo quickly found a goblin village. He moved quickly and arrived in front as if a goblin monster was there. One goblin has been defeated by him. Seeing that there are humans attacking them, the goblin monsters are ready to fight. Of course, Kang Woo is also very ready to collect magic stones from the goblins. The battle began. Kang Woo very easily managed to cut down the goblin monsters there. Of course, for Kang Woo, goblin monsters are not something that can make it difficult for him. How could he not be? A demon king who is able to make the strongest demons submit in 9 hells. It was certain those little monsters were nothing to him. The battle continued. One by one, the goblin monsters were cut down by Kang Woo with ease, until in the end he defeated one goblin monster village. There really are a lot of goblin monsters fighting against Kang Woo. After defeating all those goblins, Kang Woo's rank increased. Besides that, his demon energy step also increased by 1 level. Kang Woo then approached the goblin corpses with his demon skills. Besides that, the magic stand inside the goblin's body also began to scatter. Kang Woo collected everything, and he had been dreaming of having a big meal together as if. When Kang Woo was enthusiastically collecting magic stones there, suddenly, a goblin monster appeared from the forest. It was this goblin boss monster that the Taeso had previously warned about, because it was very dangerous. Kang Woo was very surprised after knowing that the monster could control demon energy very quickly. The monster moved to attack him. Instead of running away, Kang seemed to be ready to fight. He felt the demonic energy of destruction stronger than that of the monster. The attack was launched, but Kang Woo managed to avoid it. It didn't stop there. The monster then began to prepare to continue its attack again. The sword swing from the monster made Kang Wu thrown away. There very quickly, the monster then moved towards him and was ready to slash Kang Wu, and a great attack had been directed by the monster at Kang Wu. The powerful attack was successfully resisted by Kang Wu, but Kang Wu was overwhelmed by the force of the monster's weight, which was gigantic in shape. Fending off the attack out of fear again restrained him. Due to his low timer energy states, Kang Wu until repulsed endured such a powerful attack. Of course, Kang Wu must find a way to find loopholes and defeat the monster. The monster continued to attack him. Every attack launched by the monster will be very dangerous if it hits Kang Wu's body. Kang Wu just kept dodging attacks from goblins while thinking of ways to defeat him. There, the goblin boss monster kept attacking Kang Wu, and without the monster realizing it, he had destroyed his own territory. He seemed to throw something at the monster to distract it. When the monster was off guard, Kang Wu then attacked him with a skill called Power of Rack. After being hit by the skill, it appears that the Kang Wu monster then says that the skill has succeeded. The monster seemed to be getting stronger and attacking Kang Wu blindly. Even this time his attacks were much stronger than before. Apparently the skill used by Kang Wu does provide a buff effect and increases the strength of his opponent. But in exchange, it will become a curse for those affected by the skill and make them go crazy. The monster seemed to have gotten out of control, so Kang Wu saw that there were lots of loopholes that could be exploited by him. When attacking, the monster began to fall, but the monster still attacked Kang Wu. Likewise, Kang Wu, when there is a gap, he also makes good use of it. In the end, the goblin monster has fallen. He felt tired, and if his power was not sealed, of course he would very easily overcome the monster. The system then appears and informs that Kang Wu has leveled up and got his second hold because he defeated the goblin boss monster. The skill he got when he reached his second awaken was that he could absorb more demonic energy. Of course, the skill will help him to restore his true strength. Kang Wu then tried his new skill by absorbing the corpse of the goblin monster there. Sure enough, the smoke got darker, and Kang Wu was able to absorb more energy. Even his current statement increased by 3 levels. Of course, this skill is perfect for Kang Wu who wants to restore his sealed strength. Kang Wu felt a very rapid increase in strength in his body. Apparently, as expected, the demon seal that sealed his power was getting weaker. He then assumed that the more he reached his awaken level, the weaker the seal would become, and he should be able to regain its original power. With this, my reasons for going to high-level dungeons are increasing, and my next goal is after doing red in the dungeon and earn a lot of money. Kang Wu invites Seol A to have dinner together, as if asking if Kang Wu has family or friends. The atmosphere was silent for a moment. He later said that he had no family or friends and he had no place to live. Not even a place to go, he told the school. As if then offering Kang Wu to stay at his house as a token of gratitude for helping him so much these past few days. Of course, Kang Wu accepted the kind offer, but he was also not someone who was ungrateful. Kang Wu gives some of the money to the school and his family to meet their daily needs. Now Kang Wu was at home, as if he was going to sleep in his brother's room who had left home. Really, this is a comfort that Kang Wu has never felt during his 10,000 years in hell. The next day, Kang Wu went to the dungeon he would enter today. Arriving in front of the portal to the dungeon, he was confirmed and allowed to enter there. He then entered the dungeon, which was certainly more difficult than the dungeon entered the previous day. He remembered the message from school, that the dungeon he visited this time was inhabited by lizard monsters that were weak to fire. Kang Wu began to move into the midst of the monsters that were there. He uses a fire skill called the Power of Hellfire, a skill that can emit fire to attack his opponent. Immediately, the monsters that were there immediately burned. It turns out that the fire is not a fire that can be extinguished easily, because the fire burns his life energy instead of burning his body. Kang Wu then absorbed all the demonic energy that was in the 3 monsters he defeated in that place. Suddenly from behind appeared other lizard monsters. Of course, all the monsters were defeated very easily. Shortly after Kang Wu absorbed all the monsters there, suddenly a group of people came and asked Kang Wu to join them. They were a group from the guild Andreas was in, but Kang Wu instead ignored their invitation and left there. Of course, that made the members of the Andreas guild annoyed with Kang Wu. If their guildmaster found out about this incident, Master would definitely be furious, they all said, then determined to beat Kang Wu there. Kang Wu, who was hunting monsters and then absorbing their demon energy. While he was observing something, suddenly a hunter from the Andreas Guild appeared again in front of him. They thought Kang Wu was a weak hunter, because of his status, which was still a beginner. The team leader of the group from the guild address looked annoyed to see Kang Wu being disrespectful towards himself, who was his senior in the world of hunter. Feeling destined to die by beginners himself, planning something bad for Kang Wu, he said that Kang Wu would regret his actions, instead challenged him and said, "I'm looking forward to it, come here," he said. Andreas's team leader was named Ho Jun. He then swiped his sword and made a loud sound at the spot. The lizard monsters were very sensitive to sound, so the rain planned to lure the lizard monsters there and let the Kang Wu be their prey. There he then asked his subordinates to activate the skill barrier, because soon the lizard monsters would surround the place. Kang Wu just smiled after knowing their plan. He said he was waiting for a direct fight with the hunters. However, it turns out that this is your only plan. If you intend to do it, then you have to do it seriously, said Kang Wu. Kang Wu then threw his feet on the ground so hard that he made a big sound. Of course he was very scared, because with a sound like that, it would invite lots of lizard monsters to where they were. He said Kang Wu was crazy because they could have died being attacked by the lizard monsters there. Sure enough, immediately the lizard monsters appeared in that place. There are a large number of them that frightened the hunters from the Andreas build. They had never even seen such a large number of lizard monsters before. Kang Wu seemed to jump into the tree. He then said that he also knew that the lizard monsters were sensitive to sound. "So you don't have to pay close attention to me," he said to the Andreas Guild. The monsters then went berserk and invaded their barrier. There the rain screams, "Do you want everyone to die?" he said. Kang Wu just smiled and said that he did not want to die in that place. Kang Wu used the power of silence skill so that his presence there became silent and didn't make the slightest sound. With that skill, it makes the monsters not detect the presence of Kang Wu there. Of course, he was very surprised after seeing Kang Wu's skill that can manipulate sound. The lizard monsters had arrived before them and started to attack. Frantically, he asked for his barrier to be strengthened again. But what happened? His partner who had the barrier skill had been killed by a lizard monster. Immediately, he was scared and wanted to scream slash, but he couldn't raise his voice, so he wouldn't be detected by the lizard monster there. All his comrades had now been eaten dead. Feeling that he would not be able to survive anymore, he then shouted and called Kang Wu a bastard. Of course, all the hunters from the Andreas Guild had died as a result of challenging Kang Wu, the Demon King. This is how Kang Wu's face looked when he saw all those people being slaughtered by the monsters. After that incident, he then started his action again. With his fire skill, he burned down all the lizard monsters that were there. Really, the difference in strength between Kang Wu and Hunter from the Andreas Guild was like heaven and earth. He then absorbed the demonic energy in the corpses of the monsters. There at this time, the demon Kang Wu's energy had increased a lot compared to before. Not only the amount, but also the quality of his strength had also increased. Now the most important thing for him was to increase his level and reach his third awakening. 3 days later, at Kang Wu's school residence, and seemed to be talking about the player class that the school was currently joining, as if he really wanted to open his second awakening, and Kang Wu gave him encouragement. As if then talking about the news that is currently busy being discussed, there are players who are roaming in the dungeon. If Prayer is a hunter who falsifies their ranking and attacks other players in Dungeon. The next day, at this time, Kang Wu was in the cave, thinking. Did this rumor circulate after the incident with the hunter of the Andreas Guild 3 days ago? But Kang Wu was aware of that. And all the hunters from the guild had also died because they were eaten by lizard monsters. There might be another incident in the dungeon. Kang Wu had to be careful and focus on leveling up. Right now, as quickly as possible, and this time he had reached his third awakening. He checked his skills and indeed his strength was increasing. In addition, all the demon seals that seal his power are getting weaker. Apart from absorbing the demonic energy from the monster, he also tried absorbing it from the magic stone, and the results were not bad. 1 magic energy stand is equivalent to the power of a monster he absorbs. Kang Wu still has a lot of time there. He wants to try his skills again. At that place, Kang Wu jumped up there and issued a skill called the Power of Sky. The skill was able to make it fly and make it easier to check the surrounding conditions. Kangwoo suddenly saw something strange. It turns out that there was a serious incident. There was a betrayal that occurred in the hunter group led by Taiso. Maybe they are the players whose rumors are circulating in the media today. Being pressed under attack by the traitorous hunter, with the strength and persistence of his unyielding Taiso, said that he would not lose that easily. However, someone who hasn't reached the 3rd rank won't be able to beat us, said the traitor leader. They then started preparing to attack again, but they couldn't kill him. Hearing this, Kangwoo was confused as to why they had to catch Taiso alive. Kangwoo came there because of his curiosity. But he thought back to his meeting with Taiso, and Taiso was a good person who cared for Kangwoo when he first met. There is something strange about them. Kangwoo immediately came out of hiding, and he showed a surprised expression. Apparently, the hunters had demon energy. Immediately, Kangwoo increasingly curious about who they really are. Taiso was surprised to see Kangwoo appear in front of him. Because Kangwoo had seen the evil incident, they were determined to take Kangwoo with them, and the number of people they were looking for was full, he said. Very quickly, the red-haired hunter arrived before Kangwoo with his sword. Very worried, of course, because he thought Kangwoo was just a weak person. But surprisingly, Kangwoo slapped the man with his hand and managed to knock him down very easily. The man then got back up and looked towards the back. Kangwoo then continued his action. He again hit the man's face. There he saw a colleague who was being beaten by another hunter, then moved to attack, when the person was already in front of Kangwoo. Kangwoo then issued a skill called the Power of Destruction. He was thrown away and immediately unconscious. Kangwoo then asked the red-haired man about the demon energy they used. "Where did you get it from?" Kangwoo said. Because the man didn't want to answer, then threw his head away. It seemed that the man's face was battered, but still insisted on not saying where they got the demon energy. Kangwoo then used a demon skill that scared his target. Really, the man saw a terrible monster in front of him. Inevitably, he wanted to tell the truth, and he said the guild master, but his partner had realized and cut off their conversation. Kangwoo then attacked the man again and managed to knock him out. The red-haired man finally admitted that they got demon energy from their guild master, and apparently the power was given through a strange ritual. When the man wanted to say everything, suddenly his body changed and immediately his blood vessels burst. He died instantly before telling the truth to Kangwoo. It was something implanted into their bodies to instantly kill anyone who wanted to leak information about the ritual. Then approached Kangwoo and thanked him for helping him. Then realized that Kangwoo is not a weak man. She was very grateful to have been saved by him and would immediately report this incident so that the team from the association could investigate immediately. But Kangwoo forbade him to report this incident and preferred to face the guild address alone because of a request from Kangwoo. He also did not report the incident. To repay Kangwoo's kindness, he offers himself to be Kangwoo's companion while inside. Currently, Taiso is at level 12, and he raises his level by hunting monsters inside. Of course, Taiso. This is a person with good potential. He started to think about helping as if he achieved his second awakening. Kangwoo expressed his wish for Taiso to form a party with his best friend, named as if, and hunt monsters in the dungeon and increase his awakening. Taiso gladly accepted the offer. If he later took over as a hunter guild, Andreas. With his hands, Kangwoo started asking again about their secret, named Chunho. He always doesn't answer questions from Kangwoo with the reason he doesn't remember it. Chunho was then kicked again by Kangwoo, until in the end he said that the body of the person they brought alive was to sacrifice him, he said. That's also the reason why Taehyun wanted to bring his own younger brother to the Andreas Guild to be used as a sacrifice. If you use absolute command skills and ask for something from that hunter from the Andreas Guild, battered Chunho has arrived at the headquarters of the Andreas Guild. Someone then approached him and asked why his face could be battered like that, even though he only went to low-level sungeons to seek sacrifices. After submitting the sacrifice, he then ran away and away from there. The place where the guild's ritual sacrifice was carried out. The hunter who was to be sacrificed was then brought up there and placed there to be handed over to the god they called God Andreas. The face of the guild master Andreas was hideous. Of course, this ritual is done to get demonic energy with the aim of controlling the world. Along with the increasing desire for more and more sinister powers, if it continues like that, then I will become a full-fledged demon, said the Guildmaster Andreas. The ritual ceremony then begins by using the magic stone item, and the skill the Guildmaster is able to absorb demonic energy that comes from the unseen realm. His silent energy is dangerous to humans, but thanks to a sacrifice they can channel the demon's energy and make him absorb the energy of the age until he dies. Then the prospective recipient of demon energy will drink blood from the corpse. In other words, that's the way to get demon energy safely. That is the teaching that has been carried out by Andreas. However, the Guildmaster Andreas felt something was odd there. Why doesn't the sacrifice die after receiving demonic energy 50 times? Even the sacrifice doesn't stop absorbing the power from the magic stone. He then looked panicked and stopped the ritual. The sacrificial hunter then got up. How surprised the Guildmaster Andreas saw it, because it was impossible for anything to happen. It is impossible for a human to absorb that much demonic energy. It turns out to be Kang Wu, the Demon King, who is pretending now to be sacrificed by the Andreas Guild. Such rituals? Of course it benefits Kang Wu, who wants to absorb more demon energy. Of course the Guildmaster was very angry and immediately attacked Kang Wu there. However, he was still able to dodge the powerful attack. The fight between them was unavoidable, and boom. A powerful attack was launched by the Guildmaster Andreas against Kang Wu, but the attack did not leave the slightest mark on Kang Wu's body. He uses a skill called the Power of the Iron Wall. The Guildmaster then ordered his subordinates to attack Kang Wu together. Kang Wu also didn't stay silent. One by one, the members of the Andreas Guild he managed to defeat very easily. The Guildmaster then asked his subordinates to get away from there because he was ready to attack Kang Wu with a fire skill that could burn all kinds of living things. Seeing the fire, Kang Wu just held back his laughter. Kang Wu then also issued his fire skill. Of course, the fire was the same as the fire issued by the Guildmaster. However, the difference in strength was vast. Of course, Kang Wu's demon fire skill is far greater than him. He immediately looked down and begged Kang for forgiveness. Demon King Guildmaster Andreas began to worship Kang Wu and called Kang Wu the incarnation of the god Andreas. But that's just a trick of lies so that his life is forgiven by Kang Wu. Kang Wu showed his flying skills and began to be worshipped by the members of the Andreas Guild. Kang Wu asked him where the man had learned such a ceremony from and created cracks with the magic stone. One day, a mysterious man came to him and taught the ritual. He was forced to follow him because the mysterious man was extremely strong and massacred his entire guild in an instant. It's just that the Andreas Guild had no other choice but to follow the man's orders, he said. Kang Wu was very curious who was the person who had sparked these demonic beliefs. That person knows how to enter hell 9 hells, and it's not something Kang Wu should tolerate. He also thought that this demonic group might not only be taking advantage of this guild, there could be many more guilds controlled by it. If then used the absolute command to the Guildmaster Andreas, he is ordered by Kang Wu to investigate the demon cultists and may not perform such rituals again in the future. Kang Wu has come home as if very worried about Kang Wu, who was gone too long. As if he wanted to cook food for Kang Wu, he told him that he had obtained his second awakening. He even obtained a B rank and gained a new skill. With this, Kang Wu can make a great party. Taiso is a hunter with a tank and acts as his support. Although there are many guilds that want to recruit schools, he only wants to join Kang Wu and become reinforcements for him. But Kang Wu said that it seemed as if he still couldn't join him because right now Kang Wu was still focusing on carrying out his own missions in order to get enough EXP. Kang Wu then told as if that there was a hunter who had a special power ranked A and Kang Wu suggested him to form a party with Taiso. That way, as if, and Taiso should be able to level up quickly. Food for Kang Wu has been done. He also thought about masked people who have the ability to open the boundary between the human realm and hell. Whatever happens, I will save this world, said Kang Wu in his heart. The next day, Kang Wu, who was at the Hunter Service Center. Kang Wu came there to print his new hunter card. While waiting for the upgrade to finish, Kang Wu plans to take a short break. Kang Wu then went to an internet cafe in the city. There he will enjoy his rest time by playing games. Kang-woo suddenly heard someone screaming. That person looks angry. He's upset because there is a problem he is facing. Coupled with Kang-woo, who settled like before, the woman advised Kang-woo to get out of there immediately. Even with full of terrible threats, bother not understanding at all what this woman is talking about. The woman grew angrier and moved to attack him. But Kang-woo managed to avoid the attack. The woman's attacks continued. The woman has the ability in martial arts, even though the woman's attacks have been launched many times. But if you can easily avoid them, immediately the woman asks, "Who is she really?" One of the 5 largest guilds in his country. Kang-woo then said that he did not join any guild. But the woman did not believe it at all. How could someone as great as Kang-woo not join any guild? He said that he was a member of the most famous guild among the 5 biggest mountains in Korea. But Kang-woo did not listen to the conversation from the woman. The woman thought that Kang-woo was a low-ranked hunter. She showed her ID card. After seeing the identity then, he believed what Kang-woo said. "You should be nice to a rookie like me." "You almost killed me," say to the woman. The woman was completely shocked. How could a hunter of her rank be able to perfectly dodge his attack? Then left from there, the woman still couldn't believe that Kang-woo was ranked D. Kang-woo, who came out of the dungeon, even though his power was sealed and almost lost all his skills. However, 10,000 years of fighting experience had not completely eliminated the attacks from the person who had attacked him earlier. In the last move, in an instant, Kang-woo didn't know what attack he was using. He was curious about the true identity of the woman. The woman who attacked Kang-woo was from the Red Rose Guild. He was currently contacting the guild leader of Red Rose named Hyun-woo. Apparently he reported Kang-woo, who had to be investigated, because Kang-woo looked suspicious. Turns out to be looking for information about a demonic cult that threatens human life on Earth. Guild Red Rose suspects Kang-woo to be a member of a demon cult. They thought Kang-woo put a fake rating on his identity. Kang-woo came there to print his new hunter card. While waiting for the upgrade to finish, Kang-woo plans to take a short break. Kang-woo then went to an internet cafe in the city. There he will enjoy his rest time by playing games. Kang-woo suddenly heard someone screaming. That person looks angry. He's upset because there is a problem he is facing. Coupled with Kang-woo, who settled like before, the woman advised Kang-woo to get out of there immediately. Even with full of terrible threats, bother not understanding at all what this woman is talking about. The woman grew angrier and moved to attack him. But Kang-woo managed to avoid the attack. The woman's attacks continued. The woman has the ability in martial arts, even though the woman's attacks have been launched many times. But if you can easily avoid them, immediately the woman asks, "Who is she really?" One of the 5 largest guilds in his country. Kang-woo then said that he did not join any guild. But the woman did not believe it at all. How could someone as great as Kang-woo not join any guild? He said that he was a member of the most famous guild among the 5 biggest mountains in Korea. But Kang-woo did not listen to the conversation from the woman. The woman thought that Kang-woo was a low-ranked hunter. She showed her ID card. After seeing the identity then, he believed what Kang-woo said. "You should be nice to a rookie like me." "You almost killed me," say to the woman. The woman was completely shocked. How could a hunter of her rank be able to perfectly dodge his attack? Then left from there, the woman still couldn't believe that Kang-woo was ranked D. Kang-woo, who came out of the dungeon, even though his power was sealed and almost lost all his skills. However, 10,000 years of fighting experience had not completely eliminated the attacks from the person who had attacked him earlier. In the last move, in an instant, Kang-woo didn't know what attack he was using. He was curious about the true identity of the woman. The woman who attacked Kang-woo was from the Red Rose Guild. He was currently contacting the guild leader of Red Rose named Hyun-woo. Apparently he reported Kang-woo, who had to be investigated, because Kang-woo looked suspicious. Turns out to be looking for information about a demonic cult that threatens human life on Earth. Guild Red Rose suspects Kang-woo to be a member of a demon cult. They thought Kang-woo put a fake rating on his identity. On top of that, that woman was the one who always attacked rookies and used them as offerings. She was looking for demonic cults, and she had repeatedly fought those heretical members. However, no one is able to match his abilities. Apparently Yeonjo's real identity is as if one of the best hunters in Korea. because Kang Wu, who can keep up with his movements, of course, suspects that Kang Wu is the leader of the demon cult. But until now, he has not been able to ascertain whether Kang Wu is really a member of that cult. But one thing is certain, that person is stronger than me, said the woman, who was also determined to kill whatever happened. The next day, Kang Wu arrived in front of the portal to a leveled dungeon. Today, the requirements for entering the dungeon level have changed. The screen with the range must go there with a party of 5 people, and solo players are prohibited from going in there alone. It's all because of the monster chapter-all that appears inside the gate. Kang Wu seemed to be planning something. He used a skill called the Power of Right. In an instant, the target who was hit by the skill immediately changed his mind and was very whispering to enter my level. So did the other hunters, even though they had wanted to disband their team before. Apparently, Kang Wu made the people who were there enter riotously, and there was a commotion. That's how Kang Wu managed to enter it alone. Because the guard's attention was diverted to the angry hunter, Kang Wu arrived in the dungeon. He went alone and wanted to get all the gifts inside the same, because the place was very wide. Kang Wu then looked for a high place to resemble the place and found out where the monsters were. He used the demon detection skill. There, in an instant, he could find out the location where the monsters were, and of course the whereabouts of the final boss he was looking for had already been found by him. It seemed that the hunters who were raging outside had also entered there. Kang Wu will take advantage of these hunters to fight the little monsters there, while he will target the final boss in that place. Kang Wu moved quickly, and himself was getting ready to attack suddenly. Kang Wu immediately attacked the boss monster there with his skill. In just one hit, he managed to kill the final boss that was feared by people. How could the monster squad die in just one hit? Because Kang Wu had defeated him, he had also earned his own prize. Is it true that it is the final boss here? How could the boss be this weak? Kang Wu said. But he then thought, perhaps it wasn't the monsters that were weak, but the strength that was too great for the monsters. If you then go down and appear before the monsters there, because the boss monster has died. He was about to change his plan, the monsters began to move towards Kang Wu. The moment the monsters arrived in front of him, he moved swiftly and cut down the monsters in one fell swoop. Kang Wu's slash made a scratch on their stomach. In an instant, the monster's body then exploded, and they were all killed. It was a skill that could make the target's body explode by harnessing demonic energy. If you get a new skill that is rated A, he would then experiment with the skill. Kang Wu dripped demon energy onto the ground, and immediately from below there appeared a very powerful vibration of power. The monsters got scared and tried to run away from there. But a black shadow then appeared from below and slashed all the monsters that were there, until in the end he defeated all the monsters. After defeating all the monsters there, Kang Wu then absorbs demon energy from the monsters. With this result, he only needed 4 more levels to reach the 4th awakening. Then showed the other hunters who were confused. They saw no monsters there. They were really very disappointed, because if there were no monsters, then they also couldn't produce anything. Indeed, the corpses of the monsters were not there, but they saw several troll monsters running scared, and there were signs that a fight had taken place there. Full of annoyance, they then came out and protested the guards who were there. They feel they have been wronged because they gain nothing when they go inside. In the midst of anger, suddenly government troops appeared there. In fact, there are a lot of them. I don't know what happened to make them come to that place. The 3rd unit troop commander named Hoon appeared and ordered all the players who were there to be quiet. It turned out that they had come there to check on the hunters who had reached their 3rd awakening. This check was carried out because there have been many incidents of players attacking novice hunters recently. Of course, Kang Wu was worried, and he hoped he wouldn't be found out after slaughtering the evilest of the Andreas Guild. He really wanted to get away from that place, but it would be a problem if he had to get past the commander of Unit 3 there. So he also wanted to go there in a good way and not cause trouble there. The officer checked Kang Wu's identity. Kang Wu then tried to find information from the woman. Kang Wu said it would be terrible to think that there are players who kill other players to get money. The woman later confirmed it. Even though Kang Wu already knew that he had lied because the government definitely knew that what players were after was not money, but demonic energy. Even the government is involved in it. After being checked by the players' security forces, this is the right time for Kang Woo to go home immediately. From there, a few days later, Kang Woo was seen meeting with Taisal at a cafe. At the meeting, Kang Woo brought as if to make plans about the party that would be formed by them. Of course, he gladly accepted Kang Woo's request. How could it not? As if a healer is really needed by hunters when doing raids in dungeons. Apart from mastering healing skills, Sheem is also able to use buff skills that can increase the energy of his teammates. Taiso was really amazed and tested the abilities of this type. They also plan to meet up near Incheon tomorrow morning and enter the D-grade dungeon there. Kang Woo then ended their meeting because he would immediately go to the dungeon to level today. Kang Woo, who was already inside the S-ranked gate, was only one level away for him to awaken his fourth awakening. Kang Woo quickly passed the monsters that were there in just an instant. All the monsters that were there were defeated by him. Kang Woo suddenly smelled human blood around there. Even this time the smell was very strong. He estimated that there were about 6 people who died at one time. It was true that he found a group of dead people there. The smell of blood is still fresh. That means the perpetrator of this murder is still nearby. Then was surprised by something. Apparently it was a demon monster in hell. The monster is called Hellhone. Kang Woo couldn't believe it. How could a monster that should exist in the 9 hells appear in and on Earth? The Hillam's monster that raged in front of Kang Woo. Very quickly the monster started moving towards him. Kang Woo managed to avoid the attack from the monster. He then tried to slash the monster with his arm. But according to his own expectations, the monster was indeed the real Hilton monster. He could tell just by how hard the monster's skin was. The monster then reversed direction and shot a fireball at Kang Woo. But suddenly the monster fell and collapsed in front of Kang Woo because it ran out of power. The system then appears and says that Kang Woo has succeeded in defeating monsters, and he has also gained a lot of exp, and his level has now increased to 5 levels. If he gets a new skill from his awakening achievement, he can completely hide demon energy from other creatures. He received a notification that he had defeated Fisher Fragment. Apparently that facial is the name for a monster that comes from hell. But the main problem is, how can they get to Earth? Even though the human world and hell are different dimensions, it's impossible for monsters to perform rituals like Kang Woo to be able to go to Earth. But Kang Woo tried to think about it later. He then tried his new skill. In an instant, the necklace was able to absorb all the demonic energy that was in monsters. With this kind of power, I could recover my Demon King's energy, or even be stronger than when I was in hell, Kang Woo said. He had come out of that C-grade dungeon. He came out of there singing and was about to go home to meet up with Seol Ah. However, while on the way, Kang Woo was confronted by a female player he had met before. Yeonjo has been waiting for a long time to meet Kang Woo again, the person she suspected after the first meeting. Kang Woo felt uncomfortable. How could the woman greet him like a familiar friend, even though they had never met before? The woman then said his name as Yenju. Immediately, Kang Woo was immediately surprised. He remembered the name Yunjo that the players had talked about back in the management office. Hunter Yunjo is the name of the guild master from school, one of the best guilds in Korea, namely from the Red Rose Guild. No wonder he was so strong back then. The woman then mentioned Kang Woo's identity from name to date of birth. Even he knows there is no trace of life in the name of Kang Woo in the past 5 years. Then suddenly you appeared and registered yourself as a player this year, said the woman. Kang Woo didn't know what that woman meant. Why was he looking for information about her? But he confirmed the words of the woman. It didn't end there. Even the woman knew what date Kang Woo entered as a player, which was about 3 weeks ago. Based on the test results at the Hunter Association office, showing Kang Woo has an F rating, according to the custom of the First Awakening. Hunting a level C dungeon within 3 weeks is impossible, the woman said. It would be absolutely impossible for ordinary players to directly hunt in that dungeon. Not only suddenly appeared, but you also immediately hunted in the dungeon. So Yunjo thought that Kang Woo faked his true identity. However, all faces up to Kang Woo's fingerprints turned out to be in accordance with his data in the player association. So now Yunjo has confirmed that Kang Woo's identity is true. In other words, if he is considered a talented hunter in his eyes. Kang Woo said he appreciated the compliment, But what do you really want from me? Kangwoo asked the woman. Apparently this time the purpose of the woman is to sponsor Kangwoo as a talented hunter. Yunjo offered support to Kangwoo in the form of facilities to develop his hunter's strength so that he could develop faster, he said. Kangwoo then asked about the benefits that the woman would get. If Kangwoo accepted the offer immediately, the question immediately made him look very annoyed. But he still tries to calm down because of his pride as the leader of a school, a famous guild in Korea. Kangwoo just laughed at the behavior and the woman. Back to the main topic. Kangwoo asked why Yeonjo wanted to help him to grow. It turned out that the reason was simple. He was sure that Kangwoo would be a very strong person in the future. A beginner within 3 weeks can already do the hunting in the dungeon alone. It was an extremely rare thing. A Yeonjo would give permission to enter a level dungeon, regardless of its current rank. In addition, if Kangwoo wants to form a party group, the guild will provide a very strong hunter. Kangwoo can also reduce the tax fee when selling magic stands through the guild. Even besides that, it also lends out epic items without any special conditions. They will also provide houses to cars for Kangwoo. But Kangwoo felt it was too much for him. All of that was not free. Yeonjo would ask for help from Kangwoo if there was a mission given to him, and that's when Kangwoo had to oblige as best he could. Kangwoo then thought for a moment. It seems they did provide that facility for something very important, he said to himself. Kangwoo then asked about examples of missions that would be accepted in the future, but Yunjo couldn't say it now, because it was highly confidential. Kangwoo thought that the request from the guild redress would not be a problem, if he had to refuse later if the request was unreasonable, and finally Kangwoo accepted the offer. Kangwoo thought this way was not only to build relationships or relations with the big guilds, but also to gain benefits in the form of facilities that were difficult for him to get elsewhere. Kangwoo then again asked about what assignment he would receive in the future. Yes, when the time comes you will know everything, because Kangwoo can't do everything at his current level, Yunjo said. He then invited Kangwoo to go to the Red Rose Guild headquarters. They arrived at City Station using a luxury car that made people stunned to see it. How surprised Kangwoo was to see the headquarters of the guild as big as the Player Association office. The two of them then went inside, and they had been awaited by 2 guild members. Park Hyun is the head of the employee management team, and he gets along well with Kangwoo, but the other man shows a very scary aura. He was a man called Yoho, the supreme commander of the Rose Guild. Looks very terrible gaze to Kangwoo. Whatever that meant, they thanked him because Kangwoo had accepted the offer, and replied by saying that he would accept the offer from the guild, even if there is evil intent behind it. Then Kangwoo was taken to the players' equipment storage room, and the supreme commander of the Red Rose Guild would come along with the 2 of them. He then looked at Hong Ho with a confused face. What's wrong with that guy? The man then said that he just wanted to see in person. What are people like? They then went towards the storage room that appeared to be still staring resolutely with piercing gazes. They arrived at the player item room there. He was amazed at how many good items to use while raiding in Donegan. Kangwoo asked about legend items which turned out to also be owned by the guild. After asking about it suddenly, he threw his feet behind. They were both surprised by what the man meant. The man looked very scary. He gave off a very strong killing aura, asking that Kangwoo speak politely to their guildmaster. His face looks very angry. Until here, Kangwoo still do not understand why Yongho could be furious at him. Kangwoo even replied that he would not want to talk politely with Yeonjo. Immediately his anger grew so much that the man took his sword. When the sword was above Kangwoo's head, Yunjo then shouted for Yongho to stop doing those dangerous things. The guildmaster asked, "What happened?" The guildmaster then began to question him again threateningly. The man then said that he was very annoyed with Kangwoo because of the way he spoke to the guildmaster Rose that was not polite. The man then tried to calm down due to a request from his superior, but Kangwoo again spoke in a way that was not polite to Yeonjo. Of course that made him immediately move and try to attack Kangwoo there, and there was a very powerful attack in that place. The man seemed surprised by something. Apparently the guildmaster managed to block the sword attack with ease. It didn't stop there. The guildmaster then threw his sword on the floor and ordered the man to stop immediately. Even the man was later expelled by his own superiors in a terrible way. They both then continued their journey there. Kangwoo asked about the armor in the room. Kang Woo wants to see good and light armor or armor to wear while inside. Yong-ho then came back and offered his own armor, with the condition that Kwang Woo must win against him in a one-on-one duel. The guildmaster was getting angry because he always messed up his and Yeonjo's journey there. But if this time, then ask the woman to stop and let it go. Because the man offered his armor. Then Kwang Woo will accept the duel challenge. The guildmaster then gave an explanation so that Kwang Woo did not duel against him. Because that man was the supreme commander in the Red Rose Guild. That means his strength was far above Kwang Woo's. That was what the woman expected. With a very strong determination, he will teach Kwang Woo a lesson so that Kwang Woo is polite to the women he respects in his life. Plus, the woman is a woman he likes. When they arrived in the room for a duel, Kwang Woo praised the excellent facilities there. Kwang Woo started to warm up, while Yeonjo was still trying to stop Kwang Woo from fighting. But if you still want to continue the fight, and ask the woman not to worry about it. The man then said that he gave 3 seconds for Kwang Woo to attack him as much as possible. Kwang Woo asked the man not to be arrogant, and asked the man to immediately use his sword there. But that man said that he wouldn't use his full strength against a brat like you. Kwang Woo then started to prepare to attack. Since you asked for it, I'll start immediately, said Kwang Woo. Very quickly, Kwang Woo started moving towards Yolo. He then unleashed a kick at the man, and the man who was the guild's supreme commander of supplies was sent flying, smashing through the wall there. It seems the effect of the attack is very strong. How come? You can see the man's face holding the pain that is extraordinary. The man seemed to cough. He didn't expect the Kwang Woo boy to be that strong. If not for the armor he was wearing, he would have died in an instant. The man then took his sword and took back his words, which would give 3 seconds for Kwang Woo to attack him at will. Really, the guildmaster was very surprised to see such extraordinary strength from Kwang Woo. Don't know what will happen next. Yong-ho's condition after being hit by a great challenge from Kwang Woo seemed to have the effect of an attack on the stomach which made him sick. Even though he was currently wearing his armor item. He started to accuse Kwang Woo of using magic tricks. But Kwang Woo said that this wasn't a trick, but I'm just stronger than you, he said. Not without reason. He again accused Kwang Woo because Kwang Woo was a beginner who had just been a player for 3 weeks. It was really impossible for a player that strong to become this strong in such a short time. Kwang Woo seemed to laugh evilly. He said that Yong-ho underestimated a beginner, so he was repaid for his arrogance. Kwang Woo then mentioned that Yong-ho was a weak person, and he called him a loser, really getting angry with Kwang Woo because of the insult. Besides that, Miss Yeonjo, who is a woman admired by Yong-ho, also saw their fight, so Yong-ho felt that he should not be humiliated like this. He then got serious, and issued a technique called Heavensworth. Seeing the skill, he smiled and insulted the technique of Yong-ho. Kwang Woo said that the name of the Chinese power was like a child's toy. Yang Ho, who was getting angry, then started preparing to attack with all his might very quickly. This time, Yong-ho was in front of Kwang Woo. Kwang Woo seemed to be concentrating. After all, the person he was facing right now was the commander of a school, one of the strongest guilds in Korea. So that guy couldn't be someone weak, he thought to himself. Kwang Woo issued a skill called Authority of Darkness. The skill appeared to appear on the floor of the battle arena and had hit Young-ho's souls. Immediately, the guild leader asked him to stop his attacks and advised him to retreat immediately. Kwang Woo seemed to smile because his opponent had stepped on the floor that had been flowing with his demon energy. When Miss Yeonjo moved to stop Kwang Woo too, but Kwang Woo suddenly disappeared from before the two of them and appeared behind Guild Commander Rose. There, Yong-ho did not realize that Kwang Woo had disappeared in front of him just like that. Immediately, Kwang Woo appeared behind him and held his shoulder, saying, "You've lost, you weaklings," he said. He then cast a skill called Authority of Wife, a shockwave skill that he released from his palm. The skill was so strong that the big-bodied Young-ho was no longer able to continue his fight, and he had fallen there. Yeonjo looked at Kwang Woo with a worried look. Of course, he also did not think that the person Kwang Woo turned out to be this strong. Kwang Woo then said, "I told you I'm stronger than what you think." The medical team then arrived there and was about to provide treatment to Young-ho. He apologized for this incident to Kwang Woo, but Kwang Woo looked happy and forgave the bad response from Yeonjo's subordinates. Besides that, Kang Woo also managed to get 7 war items because of his victory over the top commander of the guild troops. The item of armor had a very large size, so Kang Woo asked Yunzhou that the item would be reduced first and adjusted to Kang Woo's body size. After that, Kang Woo then left there and said goodbye to Miss Yo, then wondered in his heart, is Kang Woo really a human? He also still couldn't believe how it was that Yong Ho, his troop commander, had been defeated by a rookie who had only been a player for 3 weeks, without even a fight. He then mentioned that Kang Woo might become a word ranker in the future. World rankers are the 8 strongest players on Earth, not only from one country, but from all countries in the world. But until now, there has not been a single world ranker player from Korea. Even Korea's current #1 hunter named Kang Hyun cannot become a world ranked. Seola 1, Yunzhou's assistant, then arrives there and asks where Kang Woo is. He then explained everything, and made sure something like this should never happen again in the future. The assistant then submitted a report to Yunzhou. It turned out that the report contained the development of the demonic group. He said that currently the Korean government has succeeded in infiltrating the spies in the Demon Guild. If all the government's plans go well, it is likely they will be able to exterminate the members of the Demon Guild, he said. Yunzhou then looked very serious. He asked his assistant to say everything in detail, and they would plan something to take care of the very dangerous demon group. Kang Woo, who was on his way home, was currently looking at the status of his Windows player. Currently, Kang Woo is level 34 and has received his 4th awakening. Apparently, according to the information in the Windows status, Kang Woo's point strength and XP are also increasing as the demon energy inside his body increases. Kang Woo realized that he couldn't choose which step point he could raise first, so the step point also increased randomly. Currently, his demonic energy is much higher than other step points, and he can also do things that other high-level players cannot do. So it is concluded that the higher the level of a player, the more difficult it will be. Later, he can increase his step point. Besides that, it's also possible that Kang Woo won't be able to raise his energy state point when he reaches level 30 because it's already too high for his demon energy. But he tries to calm down, because with his current level alone, he has managed to defeat a very strong monster. The next day, Kang Woo went to enchant the gate in the east. Today he would see the progress of the school and Taiso having a party together. He was so excited because today Kang Woo will be with their group. There Taiso then introduces 2 of his teammates recruited by him to join his team. A handsome man named Kim Tae-hyun and a boy named Choi Hyun-bi. It seems Choi Hyun-bi really admires Kang Woo, because Taiso apparently has told them a lot about Kang Woo, and he also really admires a woman like Seol. Moreover, as if she is a very beautiful woman according to him. Kim then greeted Kang Woo and gave him an introductory greeting. Kim is currently at level 12 and just got a level A awakening trade. He is a warrior-type player. And Hubie is a magic-type player. Kang Woo gave a very good response to Kim, because Kim is a person who has good manners. Besides that, the game also succeeded in activating trait rank A in the 2nd time. This is truly an extraordinary achievement, just like in Manhwa comic book heroes, said Kang Woo. In his heart, Kang Woo didn't feel any evil intentions from the 2 of them, unlike the players from the Andreas Guild before who betrayed Taiso when carrying out raids within the group that was formed. According to Kang Woo, the team was not bad. 1 tanker, 1 healer, 1 mage, and 1 warrior. In terms of composition, this team is good. I think this is enough and I will come with you today, said Kang Woo. Instantly, Taiso immediately shouted happily. Kang Woo would just watch them from behind, and he didn't intend to participate in their fight, because that would slow down their level up. So he'll be watching from afar. When they arrived at the gate level A, it seemed that there were lots of monsters that had come out and fought with them. Clashes are unavoidable. Taiso was currently enduring the attacks from those monsters over there and managed to repel the monsters with his shield. When the monsters started to weaken, Yunbi then attacked them with a magic skill called the lightning shot from behind. They then came again. The 5 monsters that were moving to attack them were ready to block them with their shields. And now you all go ahead, he said, giving healing and buff skills to Taiso, which made his physical energy mana increase a lot. Apart from that, he also attacked using his magic arrows and managed to attack the monsters that came to attack them. Taiso then slammed all the monsters there, and when the monsters were getting tired, he then moved and slashed them with a high-level holding skill. ultimate skill which is very cool and very extraordinary shown by Kim. Taiso also praised the greatness of his partner's sword skills. Apparently he is a man who has been pursuing his hobby in swords even before becoming a player. He asked Kang Woo about their team's performance today. Kang Woo looked silent. Thinking for a moment, Kang Woo then went down and approached them. Surprisingly, Kang Woo considered that their team still had a lot of deficiencies and they still had a lot to fix. Kang Woo gave directions to the Taiso Hunter team. Kang Woo evaluate their performance. He said that Taiso was too focused on defeating the monsters themselves, so he wasted a lot of stamina. A tanker should be tasked with holding back and avoiding attacks from the enemy, said Kang Woo. Then evaluate the performance of the school. A healer will be the enemy's main target, so a healer should not participate in giving attacks and focus on providing additional strength to other team members. All the members were commented on by Kang Woo until finally, it came to a Sehun who was an assassin in this team. Apparently for Taehyun, according to Kang Woo, it has worked great, and there was no comment from Kang Woo for him. He was very curious as to how strong Sion would become. Considering the great abilities and skills he currently has, he is considered a novice hunter who is a genius. The hunted in the dungeon then continued. It seems that all the hunters are working well according to what Kang Woo directed before. A very great hunter team is in action there. Kang Woo praised their progress well. In just a month it is likely that the team will be able to enter a high-ranked dungeon. Suddenly surprised, he saw something unusual there. Apparently there was a giant wolf monster coming towards them. The monster was not an ordinary monster, but a monster called a demon wolf. Very quickly it was coming towards them there. Kang Woo really surprised. Why are there so many monsters with demonic energy appearing within on Earth? When the monster arrived in front of Taiso, suddenly with a very fast movement, Taehyun came and slashed the wolf monster. There, Taehyun asked his fellow hunters to step back and save themselves from the unusual monster. Taehyun plans to fight against the monster alone so that his other friends can retreat and save themselves. Taehyun channeled chakra into his sword. Really extraordinary sword techniques and skills again shown by Taehyun. However, the wolf monster did not fall after receiving an attack from Taehyun. The monster attacked Taehyun with its claws. Even the monster jumped at him to continue its attacks. When Taehyun was helpless and could only surrender there, then Kang Woo started to move. He issued a skill called Define Power. Kang Woo's attacks were so strong that they were able to defeat the giant werewolf in just one punch. Taehyun thanked Kang Woo for saving him from the monster's attack earlier. The other fellow hunters then approached the two of them. They praised Kang Woo, who was able to overthrow the strong monster with just one punch. Seol Ah then treated Taehyun with her medical skills. Kang Woo started to think. He called Taehyun strong enough to face monsters that have demonic energy. How could it not be that the fact that Taehyun was able to raise a treat rank in his second awakening is an unnatural thing? Kang Woo then held Taehyun's shoulder and he was planning something. Kang Woo uses demon observation skills that can see other people's abilities. The skills and potential that exist in a player can be seen with that skill. Kang Woo showed a strange expression because he could very freely access the personality and strength of other people with that skill. How surprised Kang Woo was to see the trade raised by Taehyun. In his first awakening, Taehyun was able to obtain a power called Material God. For now, Taehyun's divine powers have not been fully awakened. Even on his own data, Taehyun is the person chosen to have God skills. How surprised Kang Woo was that the real identity of Taehyun. He was a hunter who was destined to become a protector of the world. So with the disclosure of unusual information by Taehyun, of course, Taehyun is the main character or MC in this story, said Kang Woo. In his heart, Kang Woo was very careful with Taehyun's potential, because he could be dangerous for Kang Woo in the future. But for now, Taehyun looks like he won't betray Kang Woo. Kang Woo seems to be planning something. Taehyun really admired Kang Woo, and he was very grateful to Kang Woo for saving him. After carrying out the mission in there, they then said goodbye and returned to their respective homes, as if very worried about the condition of Kang Woo, who had been tired all day at work. But in the end, he allowed Kang Woo to go do something he had planned. "Let's start the plan," said Kang Woo with a very terrible face. Taehyun, who was walking, there Kang Woo then arrived in front of Taehyun and invited him to talk for a while. Strangely, Kang Woo invited Taehyun to talk in a quiet place and away from the crowd. When he asked about what they would talk about in that place, Suddenly, Kangwoo attacked him quickly. It didn't stop there when he was falling. Kangwoo then continued to beat him. You will become very strong in the future, even stronger than any other player on this earth. So Kangwoo wants to use himself to become his slave in the future. Taehyun really didn't understand what Kangwoo said. Kangwoo cruelly then stabbed Taehyun's chest until Taehyun felt tremendous pain. Kangwoo turned out to be targeting his heart and giving his demon skills to Taehyun's heart. There seemed to be a seal mark on Taehyun's chest and he began to weaken and then fainted. Sometime later, Taehyung regained consciousness. There he did not remember anything in that place, but he felt something strange in his chest. However, he only remembered when he was searching for the location and information of the guild. He then passes out and doesn't remember anything. He then started to get up and stand up. He slapped the concrete that was there. In his heart, he said that he would become even stronger, so he could slash the bastard's neck, he said, watching Taehyun from the top of the building. Apparently, he had managed to control Taehyun's soul so that he would later be able to give orders to his target with the martial god trade that was in Taehyun. Of course, he will develop and get stronger in the future. Kangwoo, who will deal with the demon group, certainly needs strong people to help him fight. Suddenly, Kangwoo's phone rang. Apparently, it was a call from a Red Guild member who reported to Kangwoo that they found traces of demonic energy somewhere. It's possible that the tracks are traces of a demon beast, not of a human with demon powers, he said. The trail they found is at level B. This time, Kangwoo has found demon monsters twice. The next day, Kangwoo went to do a mission. When Kangwoo was in front of the gate to the dungeon, the people there seemed to be heading for the exit, because for now, players weren't allowed to go in there. This is because there are strange creatures in there that are very strong. Even players who come in groups are not given permission to enter the dungeon. A mutant monster appeared in the dungeon and is estimated to have killed 10 users in there. For the safety of the players, access to it is temporarily closed first, based on information from the guards there that the monsters that appear in there are very similar to lions in body. If he has defeated 5 of his opponents, then he will soon fall asleep and be overfed, so he becomes passive, unless also attacked first by his opponent. Kangwoo plans to bring 5 players with him to be sacrificed, so that when the monster is in satiation mode, Kangwoo will immediately kill it there. He then called Yoonjo and asked him for the security to give permission for Kangwoo to get in there. Yoonjo himself was very surprised after knowing that Kangwoo would enter, directing his cell phone towards the guard. After getting a call from Miss Yoonjo, Kangwoo was finally allowed by the guard to enter the building. But suddenly a group of users from the guild appeared and also asked for permission to go inside, and there was the man from the named guild. Shangso directly faced to Kangwoo. He insulted Kangwoo, who did not have party partners, and said that the help from the guild was very bad. But Kangwoo silenced them all by saying that he alone was enough to defeat the forest monster, said Kangwoo. Hunter from the guild just smiled at the words of the very confident Kangwoo. Shangso then said, "A bastard like you is the one with the most potential to die the first time inside." Kangwoo just kept silent even though he was insulted and looked down upon by the troops from the guild. The guild invites Kangwoo to go in there because they have permission to enter that dangerous place. Instead of being angry, Kangwoo smiled and was very grateful for their kindness because Kangwoo had been invited by them together to get in there. "I will come with you," said Kangwoo. Actually, in Kangwoo's heart, he had planned to sacrifice 5 of them to be eaten by monsters, so that the forest monsters would be full and the only one left to be tortured in there. "Come on, let's go inside," said Kangwoo with a very scary face. They were already in the dungeon. Kangwoo pretended to be stupid by asking if we need to join forces to defeat the jungle monster, asked Kangwoo to guild. "You are really stupid and useless," said Shangso, and they all ignored Kangwoo in there. Again, the guild troops insulted Kangwoo and even laughed at Guild Red, who recruited a stupid loser like Kangwoo. The guild is as if one large guild has become rival goals in Korea. His guildmaster became a ranker along with his son. They were a guild that had abundant wealth in the first place due to owning the world's largest corporation from the start. The guild was indeed filled with rich people, and by now they might have excess money. Plans to make the 2 great masters fight for profit in the future. After circling and exploring in the dungeon, they still haven't found the mutant monster. The hunt will start soon. Kang Woo used the observation skill to find out where the position of the ferocious monster was. Just beyond the labyrinth wall in the next room, the monster is now in hunger mode. Kang Woo uses a skill that can create a delicious food smell there. He did this to lure the forest monster. They were all ready to fight because something was closing in on them. The guild leader said not to interfere in the fight, but Kang Woo said, "Bastards like you are people who have the potential to die." It is the same sentence as what was said by Noon to Kang Woo before. Surprisingly, from the next wall, sharp nails appeared which hit one of the members of the guild. That was a forest monster that had demon energy. The monsters then started their action. They shot arrows at the monsters there. But it was very easy for the monster to parry and avoid the attack. When Seongso gave directions to his subordinates, very quickly a forest monster stabbed Sei as if one of them, so 2 people have been killed. Starting to panic, he ordered that he use a combined attack while rotating his weapon very quickly. This time he uses a skill that can emit an incredibly strong electric current. Their attack continues. The other 2 people then started moving towards the monster, but what happened, the attack was nothing to the monster. 2 of his colleagues again died easily. Combination attacks couldn't even nick the monster in the slightest. Using its ultimate skill, the skill is called Thunder Flash. Even though the movement is very fast, but the monster manages to hit the shell until he has fallen. And Ko was right in front of him. The monster was in and eating his last surviving comrades. What a tragic fate for such an arrogant guild. This incident, of course, makes laugh. The boss monster that is eating a member of the Seongso guild is the only troop from the guild that is still alive. There Kang Woo then appeared above the forest monster. Kang Woo explained to Seongso when this mutant monster eats 5 of its prey, it will enter satiety mode. When that happens, the monster will not attack anyone unless it is attacked first. Then it will be easy for Kang Woo to attack the monster. This time he was prepared with a skill called the Authority of his Hellfire, and tried so that he could defeat the monster in one ultimate attack. Of course, it takes very strong concentration for Kang Woo to be able to use different authority skills in one attack. Kang Woo then jumped violently on top of the forest monster. Visible in his arm appeared a demon spear flowed by 2 different elements. The skill was apparently an S-ranked skill, a high-level skill that required demonic energy, and boom! He managed to stab the monster's head there. Immediately, the monster was in pain as a result of this very strong attack. In an instant, Kang Woo managed to kill the monster there. Even the body of the monster was like being roasted after receiving the attack from Kang Woo. It has reached 60 points so that one condition to become a demon god has been fulfilled. Kang Woo managed to get a skill called Extreme Demonic from the demon god Kang Woo. He had even heard the name of this power for the first time, even though he had been in hell for 10,000 old years. Kang Woo concluded that if he continued to increase his state points as a player, then Kang Woo could become even stronger than when he was in hell. Yes, Kang Woo could have passed the Demon King level and become a real demon god. Kang Woo then used his skill to absorb the demon's power from the burn monster he had defeated. When Kang Woo absorbed the monster board there, a living guild member then asked about what Kang Woo was doing. Kang Woo then turned and started approaching Senso there. Of course, Seongso was very afraid that Kang Woo would insult his strong self just because of the help from the guild. Seongso asked, "Is Kang Woo going to kill him there?" Kang Woo was not going to kill the man because there was one more thing that Kang Woo needed from someone. Seongsong then asked about who was the person who had ordered the guild to provoke Kang Woo. He just kept silent and did not want to say a word. Kang Woo, who was angry, then kicked very hard. Didn't stop there. Kang Woo then moved and in an instant was behind him again. Kang Woo forced him to answer questions from him. It turned out that the person who had ordered them was Kim Yong-hoon. Kang Woo was confused. Why Kim Yong-hoon did this to him? Based on the story of Seongso, Kim Yong-hoon once asked Yeonjo Guildmaster to date, but he flatly refused the invitation. Since then, the hatred for the guild redress started to grow. Besides that, Kim Yong-hoon also said that the guild wanted to change everyone's views and believed that the Mir Guild was superior to the Rose Guild. Kang Woo-yang was curious about Young-han's face, then asked for a photo from that person. Kang Woo was surprised and thought it was Kim Seon, but he quickly realized that it wasn't Kim Tae-yun, because maybe they were just both handsome. Then said, "So I'm currently caught up in the revenge scheme of a loser?" Is that what Kang Wu says? He can beg forgiveness and apologize for his previous actions that insult Kang Wu. He was even willing to do anything as long as he was forgiven. Kang Wu smiled and asked Xiongso not to worry. Instead, maybe this task will be an advantage for you, said Kang Wu. The exit gate then opened. Kang Wu and Xiongso came out from there together. Immediately, the media reporters approached them and asked lots of questions to Kang Wu. Kang Wu then screamed and called for an ambulance. Kang Wu said that the Chinese fought a forest monster in there when he was being attacked. All the other members were dead. Only me and Xiongso survived, said Kang Wu. Even though many lives were lost, the hero who saved me and defeated the forest monsters was Xiongso. Immediately, Xiongso became the spotlight of the journalists' cameras. Kang Wu then told me about the incident inside. Shortly after we entered, the mutant monsters immediately attacked us. We all thought of escaping from there, but God had said that these monsters would be very dangerous for humans if they got out of the dungeon. We also then decided to fight against the monster with all our might. Because the monster's strength was extraordinary, our party members were killed in an instant. When the situation was urgent, he ordered Kang Wu to immediately run away from there, and he fought alone against the forest monster. But I didn't have the heart to leave him alone in there, so I watched the incredible fight between them. After that fight, Xiongso fell unconscious and of course delirious. That's the fake story that Kang Wu has concocted, and he told media reporters. There he made fake news because he had a plan behind it all. On the other hand, the story has made Tuan Xiongso proclaimed as a hero in the world of heroes. In an instant, Xiongso became famous. News about a hero who defeated forest monsters spread throughout the world. However, if you look at his face, it seems that the wound is not like that of a forest monster, but the marks of being beaten by a human. What exactly is Kang Wu doing in there? Asked in his heart. It turns out that Yunzhou is currently meeting with Jiun, who is the guild master of the Sanri Guild. They were talking about the demonic group which had become more active recently. If the truth about a crazy cult that uses human sacrifices as ritual offerings becomes known to the public, it is likely that the world will be in chaos again. Immediately, a terrible aura appeared around Yunzhou's body, a sign that he really hated the demon cult. Kang Wu then arrived there. Jian greeted Kang Wu and introduced himself as Yunzhou's friend. Young then said goodbye and told Kang Wu not to call him Madam, because Madam's title is for old people, he said before leaving. Zhang showed a strange expression. He was worried about the condition of Yunzhou there. Yunzhou then handed over the permit card to enter the gate ring S to Kang Wu. Kang looks happy, but Yunzhou warns him not to go inside alone. Kang Wu just kept quiet after being warned by the woman. Kang Wu heard a bit of their conversation before he entered the room earlier. They discussed about the demon cult, which was the mastermind behind the emergence of mutant monsters in the game. Until now, Guild Redress and its alliance haven't gotten much information about this dangerous group. Even now, Guild Red has also been working with the government to hunt them down. The Rose Guild is the only guild that cooperates with the government to quell the demon cult. All done because the government will give a big reward to the cult hunter. But besides that reason, there were many Red Race Guild members who investigated them, then lost their lives. Because of that, he was also determined not to let them all go and avenge his dead comrades. Seeing how serious Yunzhou is in this matter, of course there is a possibility that there are a lot of their comrades who have fallen indeed. An extremely terrifying aura of strength came out of Yunzhou's body. So this is the strength of a rancor? I can feel how strong the killing intent of a Yunzhou is. Then it was revealed that the intent and purpose of Yunzhou working with Kang Wu was so that Kang Wu could help them fight against the members of the demon quotes. Because currently the guild lacked strong players. Kang Wu was firmly willing to accept the request and would help Yunzhou in quelling the demon cult. Considering that Kang Wu has received a lot of services and assistance, Yunzhou was very happy to hear words from Kang Wu, who was willing to help him. Why not? Besides getting a lot of benefits, Kang Wu can also get travel energy. He realizes that he has gained a skill that can summon demon monsters from another dimension and make them as his slaves. Because this skill is limited to only being able to do it once in 3 months, Kang Wu must be able to summon a very strong monster in his first attempt. According to his theory of thought, The higher the level of the gate that will be the place for summoning monsters, the stronger the summoned monsters will be. Therefore, at this time, Kangwoo was already in front of the gate. Currently, Kangwoo was in an S-rank dungeon. What a beautiful place there. Besides that, the place there was so wide. Kangwoo then began to concentrate and collect his demon energy. Kangwoo activated his 5th awakening attribute. It seems he is overwhelmed to control the skill. Even the demon energy used is also very much. Immediately the sky there began to open, a sign of the opening of the barrier between dimensions, because the demonic energy used was so large that it made the cracks there were also very large. Finally, the dimensional crack has closed, and Kangwoo has succeeded in summoning a demon monster to be his pet. Surprisingly, the monsters that appeared there were dragon monsters. It was no ordinary monster. It was a very strong dragon and was ranked S. But strangely, the monster was summoned in a state of serious injury, like after fighting and being attacked by enemies. Surprisingly, from the dimensional crack-up, there appeared several people who were not yet known who they really were. Kangwoo felt strange because the people who appeared in front of him spoke a strange language that didn't exist on Earth. Judging from their clothes, they're not people from the Earth. Kangwoo thought they were like characters that had come out of a fantasy world. Kangwoo uses demon skills that can make him understand the language used by them. It seemed they were seriously facing the dragon monsters that were there. One of the men who was there named Renault. They saw the dragon was dying and helpless again. Kangwoo then approached them all and asked who they really were, introducing himself as the 3rd prince of the Armen kingdom. Really, Kangwoo never heard of a kingdom named Arnold in the human world. Moreover, there were various kinds of humans currently in front of him. Kangwoo then charged in front of the dragon beast, and he wouldn't let the monster he summoned die. There, Kangwoo used his skills to heal the wounds suffered by the monster. Seeing what Kangwoo was doing, Prince Reynald was angry. They then pointed their weapons at Kangwoo, it turns out. "Are you the master of the demon dragon?" asked Prince Renaud, firmly saying that the dragon was an evil monster called a demon dragon. He explains that the dragon caused drought and pestilence in his kingdom because of the dragon's demon power, so that many residents lost their lives. But the dragon monster explained that all the disasters were not because of his actions, continuing to say that if this monster had such power, then the monster would be god level, and no one would be able to beat it, and this dragon was impossible hurt this bad, said Kangwoo. Immediately the prince was angry. It was very clear that all of this was the work of the dragon, said the prince to Kangwoo. To save the citizens of the kingdom, they are determined to kill the dragon there. Kangwoo also won't let his monsters be killed just like that. He then attacks the prince with his skill called Power Expression, and the bomb explodes violently. There, Prince Reynald seems to still be able to avoid skill from Kangwoo. Okay, maybe this monster caused drought and plague in Armen's kingdom. Then why, if there are so many Kangwoo with a very terrible face? Regardless of what this monster has done now, he is my partner, said Kangwoo firmly. The prince called the demons heinous and evil. Instead of making peace, Kangwoo even heated up the situation there. He confesses that he is the real demon. Immediately, Prince Reynald swore by his people to defeat Kangwoo and the demon monsters there. Prince Renan attacked Kangwoo quickly, and Kangwoo exploded due to the effects of the prince's attack. The attack was really strong. Kangwoo admitted he was lucky to have armor items that strengthened his defense. Kangwoo used a skill called Power Explosion, but they all managed to avoid it by jumping in the air. But the attack from Kangwoo didn't end there. The fireballs he shot then moved towards the Arnon royal troops there. One person from the giant race was successfully hit by Kangwoo, but other attacks were successfully repelled by their tankers. As their tanker protected the prince, from behind, then came fireballs from Kangwoo, and one-man bomb again hit that simple Kangwoo very quickly. Then was in front of the prince, and he was ready to attack. It seems the prince managed to avoid it, and Kangwoo kept trying to attack him with very fast movements. Prince Reynard counterattacked him using a skill called Blade Storm. Really extraordinary attacks launched by him to Kangwoo. Kangwoo seems to use a skill called Iron Wall. The skill was able to protect his body from the powerful attacks of the prince. Kangwoo managed to kick Renov there, which made the prince thrown away. But the prince did not give up so easily. He then quickly again started the action. Extremely strong and excessive sword attacks were continuously launched by him there, but Kangwoo can still avoid the attack with ease. The prince's attacks continued. Even Kang Wu looked overwhelmed against it, and there was another big explosion there. Really lucky Kang Wu still able to avoid. He admitted that the man was very strong. Kang Wu returned to attack Prince with his skill. Somehow, after parrying the attack from Kang Wu, the man's face became different, and he started to weaken. Seeing that his opponent had been overwhelmed, he laughed evilly. Really, his attitude as a demon lord in hell keeps burning inside of him. Even he called Prince Renov a fool. Seeing his prince getting weaker, his colleagues started to worry. Reynold asks everyone to quickly escape from there. We cannot fight this person. He was too strong, said the prince. The woman there insisted she didn't want to leave the prince and just ran away, but Reynold kept asking them to save their lives immediately. Even Prince said hand over Armin's empire to them. Kang Wu sadistically then kicked the prince there until he fell. Really, the prince felt bad luck because he met with Kang Wu and he failed to kill the dragon, which they considered to be a bringer of disaster for their empire. As for Kang Wu, the fight is like this. He just keeps on fighting and killing to survive. There is no such thing as pity, forgiveness, or anger in this hell. Such emotions and feelings do not exist at all. When Kang Wu wanted to end Renault, suddenly the woman came and protected him. Even the woman asked Kang Wu to just kill her and let the prince go. The woman's name is Reina. Reina says that the prince is the hope for millions of residents of the Armin kingdom, and Reina even admits that she also loves the prince so much that she is willing to give up her life for the love of her heart. But what happened? Kang Wu did not care at all about the feelings and words that had been expressed by Reina. He didn't care at all about their business. Kang Wu mentioned that they were the ones who started this fight first. If I were in your position now, would you forgive me? Of course not, right? Kang Wu said. So you don't need a lot of drama, he said again. Seeing Kang Wu's cruel nature, Renan called Kang Wu a disgusting person. When Kang Wu wants to kill them, suddenly the system appears and will delete the foreign creatures that also come. Then quickly move to attack Renault over there because he wanted to take the item of armor worn by the prince. Kang Wu ultimately failed to kill the prince because those from the other dimension were removed from the dungeon. Kang Wu, who was annoyed, then went to the dragon monster that had been summoned. Kang Wu thought about a system called the prior system. He had also heard messages from the system when he returned to Earth. The possibility of the appearance of monsters was due to the force system. Kang Wu thought all of this was his fault for forcibly opening the gate between dimensions that separated Hell and Earth. Kang Wu funny start blaming himself for endangering the Earth. The wounded dragon monster called Kang Wu Master. He asked if everyone who was chasing him had left. The dragon thanked Kang Wu for saving his life. Kang Wu then used his healing skill to heal the monster's wounds. Based on the information from the dragon, the kingdom of Arnon was in a different dimension, and Arnon was the largest kingdom on the continent. That world was filled with gigantic monsters as well as dragons. Kang Wu, along with his pet monster, then moved away. Apparently Kang Wu will bring the monster back to his house. The cute dragon is very happy because it will live with its master, because he has been alone for a long time. At first the monster lived with his father, but one day he suddenly disappeared and left him alone. Since then, the dragon spent his time reading books, but suddenly someone came and accused him of bringing disaster and plague to the people there. Even though he didn't do anything that was evil or that harmed others, he said. Touched by the fate of his pet, Kang Wu also remembered his life. As far as he remembered, he had been living at the orphanage. The desire to meet my parents, and I just wanted to be loved and my existence acknowledged, said Kang Wu. When he got home, as if he immediately hugged the cute dragon monster. Of course, as if really like it, because the monster is very cute. That night, of course, seemed very happy, and he asked to sleep together with the dragon. The next day, Kang Wu woke up from